Good morning, brothers and sisters.
Hey everybody, my name is Jake, and welcome to Sunday's Service. I'm a former Jehovah's Witness, current annual meeting recapper slash reactor. Yesterday, October 5th, was the annual meeting of Jehovah's Witnesses, where select members and some sneaky ex-members got an early look at new light and changes to the organization, such as barely legal volunteer labor, new bald white guys on the governing body. And if you think the group's end time predictions about the United Nations make no sense, don't worry about it. God will just magically put ideas into world leaders' hearts suddenly, so it doesn't have to make any sense. And we're going to be getting into all of that and more on today's stream. Thanks so much for joining. This is super exciting. I'm really looking forward to getting into all this stuff. If you've never been here before, this is a live stream. I'm going to be reacting to the convention live. I will be pausing and giving commentary. So if you're looking to watch it without commentary, good luck to you. I don't think it exists anywhere officially. I had someone send me a copy, Mr. Ron Poma, who happens to be in chat. But don't bother him or me. This technically is not really supposed to exist on the internet without commentary yet. Jehovah's Witnesses typically post these several months after they air live. So there was an official event yesterday do they hold it in New Jersey or New York? But they did a live stream of this whole annual meeting, and some people were allowed to tune in electronically, but generally speaking, not all Jehovah's Witnesses get to see it early. I think most have to usually wait till like January or December. So we're getting an early, illegal, but legal with YouTube's copyright system look at the annual meeting. So we're going to be getting into that. But while people filter in, we do have to quickly talk about some channel stuff.
Oh, happy day. All worldly complaining about YouTube.
Yes. Well, no complaints, actually. Just a sincere thank you. Christina and I were struggling a bit this month. I made a community post just asking if anybody could chip in, and we had so much help. Thank you so much to everybody who chipped in. Sincerely, you saved our butts and got us out of a tough situation. So I really can't thank you enough. Really appreciate it. As far as channel news, I've been a little slower to upload on the main channel, as you can see. I've just been working on non-JW stuff, content-wise, just for mental health reasons. But I've still been editing here and there, and I've got some uploads coming. I've got a video I'm going to release tomorrow, I swear, and some other stuff, and a new channel coming soon talking about pop culture stuff, so stay tuned for that. I know I made it sound super enticing. Now, we do have some important business to get to real quick. I'm a frequent water drinker. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I'll say it here in front of God and everyone. And sometimes I have to pause, take a little drink of water. And so when I do that, I always say, oh, I should make a little sound drop for when I do that. And I always forget. And so I made a big one just to show that I made this, and then a shorter one. Here's what I
My church had been giving me ass to drink, but now I was freely receiving, the water of life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to play that every single time I drink water. I may be playing this.
The water of life.
Pretty good. Pretty good little drop. Okay. So today's sponsored. No, this channel does not. I don't do sponsorships or anything. So it's just supported by viewers like you. So thanks so much for tuning in, and let's just get right into it. I watched a little bit of this here and there. Danny, XRW Caleb, was streaming the whole thing live yesterday, and remarkably, it was not struck down. XJWs have tried to live stream the annual meeting as it's happening in the past, and usually Watchtower copyright strikes it, but they didn't do that this time, which is kind of interesting. I just saw that Danny sent me a message about that yesterday that I had never responded to. He's like, hey, why didn't they copyright strike that? Are they worried about apostates? Maybe they recognize at this point that, you know, striking stuff from content creators just creates more content. Then we get to make a video like, look, Watchtower is silencing me. So maybe they figured that out. Now, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, and we'll see it when I get to the video, but I think around like 17,000 people live streamed the drama yesterday with Jehovah's Witnesses through official means. You know, I don't think they were counting the XJW Caleb stream. But I noticed a little something when I was pulling up YouTube this morning. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Should be under... Yeah, okay. Sorry, I just got to pull up this window. Another kind of ongoing project is to figure out another thing other than StreamYard, because StreamYard's terrible. But Mormons are doing their annual, they call it General Conference, but it's the same concept. It's their big annual meeting where their big higher-ups give sermons and stuff. And so they're doing that today, and look at that. They're live streaming it to YouTube because, unlike Watchtower, Mormons put their stuff on YouTube, you know, so more people can see it more easily. And they have 282,000 people watching live just on YouTube. And presumably there are other platforms as well, not to mention in person. So in terms of who's crushing it in the high control group department, I gotta say Mormons are, they're doing it. They're out there taking Watchtower to task. Okay. I did briefly want to shout out, there was one comment I saw early on. Why do I have a feeling that the eventual new governing body are just going to be a bunch of corporate yes men with no personality? At least Brother Let was interesting to listen to. This is from El Tohono Ranger. And I think that's a great question. I mean, really, he answered his own rhetorical question. I think that's how rhetorical questions work, actually. What am I saying? Yeah, I think if you haven't seen these two new guys, we haven't seen much of them at all. Larchwood posted this blurry screenshot of the one guy and a better picture of the other one, but we really don't know much about them. They give the prayers at this annual meeting, and I don't even remember their names right now. We'll get to them. But yeah, they're just more generic white guys. And when you think about the succession of the last several appointments, like Mark Sanderson, Kenneth Cook, Gage Flegel, Jeffrey Winder, like those are the last 4 appointments. And they are more or less identical in terms of not just like their speech patterns, but also their personality and their look. It's quite weird, but they seem to be sort of selecting people intentionally who don't have strong personalities, presumably to combat against future Tony Morrises or David Splains or Stephen Letts, people who clearly do have very strong personalities. They want, I think they want yes men who are definitely going to perpetuate the group and not, you know, make it about them, so to speak. Anyway, enough about that. Let's get to the annual meeting. And, all right, let's try this. I've never used this video player before, but it's allowing me to speed it up to 1.5 speed. Let me know if you can't hear the audio. This we don't need to see. Let's skip forward a little bit here. Okay. What I do want to see here is this little opening musical number that they do. The Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania, folks. Now, I'm not going to play the music. Okay. The songs are a little triggering for me and other folks, so let's just watch it, because there's some interesting imagery. Now, my main takeaway, just tuning in here and there to this stream, was that they seem very desperate for volunteers. It's an open secret that the group has been stagnating in their numbers, and they really have had plateaued growth for a while, but now they're declining ever so slightly year by year. And like the ministry numbers were going down, and now they don't even bother counting the ministry numbers anymore, presumably because it made them look bad. And so a lot of the talks seem like they are really trying to encourage Jehovah's Witnesses to sign up to do construction projects and to be pioneers, elders, stuff like that. And this definitely prepares the hearts and minds of Jehovah's Witnesses to do that. Look at all the free labor. Look at all this hard work in hard hats. I made that sound drop, and now I can't actually interrupt the video every time I play it. Okay. And look how fun it is. You get to take selfies with your friends. It's just so fun being a witness. And by the way, sometimes it is, because nobody would sign up for cults if there wasn't a little bit of fun involved. Okay. Just happy, shiny, smiling people. It's kind of fun just to watch it without sound, because you just really get the raw, you see exactly what they're doing. Let's get a little glimpse of the music to hear what the mood is. I bet it's inspiring. Amazing. Sped up Kingdom songs are kind of the best. All right, so we see a lot of really young, teenager-looking kids getting baptized. This is important because Watchtower regularly asserts in court that they don't baptize children, but they clearly do. And then, I don't know why, they're always just showing it on video and taking pictures of it and putting it on their website on purpose, and then in court they're like, what? No, what are you talking about? Yeah, okay. Very depressing. Ah! Creepy. I didn't like seeing that at all. Stephen Lett hugging. Yeah, I have it muted. Oh, were you supposed to hear the music? Oh, shit. Okay. Well, I was just dancing to nothing then, as far as you know. That's incredible. All right, this will hopefully work. If it doesn't, we may have problems, because StreamYard doesn't play MKV files. All right, can you hear this? It's just going to be chatter. Well, yeah, there's not going to be any subtitles because it's an unofficial video. Can you hear this? Yeah.
Good morning, brothers and sisters.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, I was just trying to load up the raw file, and StreamYard doesn't play MKV files. Yet another reason why StreamYard is a pile of trash that I've got a subscription to, and it's really not going to good use. Okay, so they recycle some clips from their Jesus drama that they spent millions and millions of dollars on, and it's absolutely terrible and embarrassing. And now we get some of my favorite stuff, which is paradise imagery. What is paradise going to be like? This utopian, ectopic new world. This is like a live-action version of a picture in one of their books that Anthony Morris went on a really weird drunken rant about. Oh! Okay, now the only problem with this is that I can't speed up the... Ooh, wait. Yeah, I can. Look at this. Oh my god. Isn't technology incredible? Alright, so this is my favorite thing. My favorite fact about Paradise is that witnesses will have to teach resurrected from the dead Bible characters and non-Bible characters. So, people are going to die in Armageddon, most people, non-Jehovah's Witnesses, so billions. But, 8 million or so witnesses are going to survive, and they're going to rebuild the earth to its Edenic state. And then people somehow, in some kind of organized manner, are going to start coming back from the dead, righteous and unrighteous, and they're going to be given a second chance to serve God under perfect conditions. And so part of this is that witnesses will have to teach witness doctrine to the resurrected people. And so that's what we're seeing here, is this guy whose shirt is so dark it almost makes him look like a Catholic priest or something. And he's got slicked back hair, which if you watch, I think you should leave. We know what that makes this guy. But he's teaching somebody their needlessly complicated Daniel prophecy, what all the little parts of this statue mean. Pretty incredible. This is a floor plan for the house that they're building with the help of an elephant. using no power tools. And a lot of what you're going to be doing is just hanging out, having picnics with your friend with baskets of fruit, like incredible palatial lakeside properties that are hand-built over the course of 1,000 years while you reunite with your dead loved ones. Ooh, this feels new to me that they have sailboats. Like, they're going to have boats, but they're not, like, steam-powered. And this guy, just wearing a white t-shirt. Maybe he's going to get baptized. Oh, man. Fantastic. Okay. Let's skip forward to this.
Electronic or handwritten should not be given or forwarded to anyone else.
Let's skip past the part where he says not to do what we're doing right now. And let's get to the first.
Person Visitor Center. There's a new product according to.
So if you've ever seen these before, ooh, okay, so we get to see a prayer. And I had just made a video like a few weeks ago about how Jehovah's Witnesses never like record official prayers given by their higher ups. It's kind of weird, and I think it's because they don't want there to be some official format of a prayer. But I believe that this is one of the new guys who just dropped.
Did you say thanks to everybody?
I did.
Okay.
Christina is reiterating the thanks to everybody. Yes, we love you. Thank you so much. Very much appreciated. Now, I don't know if there is a green suit rule at the annual meeting this year, but both Gage and Jacob Bump, what's this guy's name? Always happy to see like Jacob representation, you know what I'm saying? Because that's my name. But yeah, I believe this is one of the two new guys. Let's hear his prayer, because like when they release this on jw.org officially, they'll have this part snipped out. But I'm pretty sure it's just going to be a boring, normal prayer. All right. We get it. Get past the song.
Families and friends in other locations, you see servants that are happy to serve you. And that's because, God, you're the
Jody?
happy God, and we're just imitating
Give
your
me the full
wonderful
name on that
qualities.
guy.
We pray, Father, that this day, too, will give us encouragement
Thank
and
you,
guidance
Noah
and allow
Garrett.
us to continue on in our service to you. We've come to love you and love serving you, and we want millions.
It's kind of amazing how even though they say that prayer is this personal expression, that they all sound the same anyway, because people just sort of follow social cues from other people giving prayers.
Others to also come to know you and come to serve you and have a hope for the future. So we know this program will impart us the encouragement that will help us keep going. We also, Father, pray that your Spirit will be with all those who will be participating.
All right. Well, they couldn't have picked a more anonymous poop-colored building to record this thing. Poop if you're really sick.
So what an eventful year it has been. As expressed in Psalm 65, verse 11,
What an eventful year.
Jehovah has indeed crowned the year with goodness.
Can I please
in a
add
spiritual
subtitles
sense.
after the live stream?
Since our last annual meeting, Jehovah has directed his people in many different ways, reflecting his love and wisdom. Of course, the most significant
YouTube does automatically generated subtitles, so those should be up after the stream. It might even do them live, but there'll be a delay.
but here on earth as well. We're delighted to have these dear ones back with us once again. Wouldn't you agree?
Right? Great. By the way, I'm going to be doing another awkward
Also,
silence
we were
supercut
thrilled by
at the
this year's
annual meeting, you better
convention
believe.
featuring the good news according to Jesus. As
It's a tradition at this point, doing an awkward silent supercut of these annual meetings, because it always features governing body members really soaking in the applause. Okay, so they're talking about the good news according to Jesus. Let's see how they spin this disaster.
we see the growth that's taking place in the field.
Oh.
And in other news, there's a new product
really
in the
say
Bethel
anything about
Commissary, beard butter.
Oh,
Not to be
brother.
confused with the butter that you spread on your toast. Yes, adjustments to our dress and grooming
Very
were also
funny.
a highlight of the year. Additionally, less than a year
One of the highlights of the year? Beards. They're almost doing like an old school E3 presentation that Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo would do, where they're like, this year we released Halo 6, we released Cameo, and we released Perfect Dark Zero. I don't know how they released Halo 6 with all those other games, but it's sort of like that. They're just reviewing their accomplishments. But theirs, instead of we released these products, it's we released this crappy movie with terrible acting that looks like trash that we spent millions of dollars on, and we also gave you beards. We gave you the ability to have one on your face if you so choose, but keep it tidy. Doesn't have to be uniform or look good, as we know from the Joker himself, Gage Flegel.
A year ago, the PVC opened for tours.
Interesting
Not to
color
be
scheme.
confused with polyvinyl chloride for all you plumbers out there. No, we're talking about the
this guy
PVC,
really
the
doesn't want you to
Patterson
be
Visitor
confused.
Center. Here's an experience from the first century village. A young girl was very impressed by the village and was trying to just understand, comprehend what she was seeing around.
So the first century village is this, like, at their Bethel complex, the world headquarters, Warwick. They have like a first century Bible times village that's, supposed to be historically accurate. Probably it's pretty historically accurate, but mostly it's accurate to JW dramas that people might have seen. Also, we've got Bo here in the background hanging out. If he shows up on camera, you better believe I made a sound drop for that too.
Her. She noticed all the costumed attendants walking around, demonstrating trades, or just speaking with the visitors. She asked her mother, "Are these resurrected ones?" A young boy about 10 was with his family and enjoyed seeing a brother in costume demonstrating the wine press. Well, the family continued walking through the marketplace and then into the courtyard, but the little boy
distracting me
kept
off screen. She started dancing. Okay, so the girl was confused because it was so realistic. She thought that people were resurrected in the first century times. I don't get it. Yeah, lots of ones. Salmon Run from Splatoon. Yeah, I suck at Splatoon. I haven't played it in a
back.
while.
He kept coming back to the wine press, and the costumed attendant told him, "You must really enjoy it here." And he said, "Yes." Then the boy paused and he said, "I'm from the future."
What? Okay, I'm so sorry to do this, but I did not understand that at all.
Enjoyed seeing a brother in costume demonstrate to her mother, "Are these resurrected ones?"
Let's get this.
She noticed all the costumed attendants walking around, demonstrating trades, or just speaking with the visitors. She asked her mother, "Are these resurrected ones?" A young boy about 10 was with his family and enjoyed seeing a brother in costume demonstrating the wine press. Well, the family continued walking through the marketplace and then into the courtyard, but the little boy kept coming back. He kept coming back to the wine press, and the
wanted
costumed
wine.
attendant told him, "You must really enjoy it here." And he said, "Yes." Then the boy paused and he said, "I'm from the future."
Funny. I mean, this just sounds like the kind of shenanigans that you would do on, like, the tour of a historical society, like a field trip. Kids are stupid. He didn't understand.
He went on to show his phone to the attendant and show how he has the Bible on it. The attendant explained he'd seen others come through the village with such devices, but he only reads Hebrew.
Wow,
young
this
brother
is
looked at him and
great.
said,
It's like how
"I
in
have the Bible
Avatar
in many
Land, they all
languages."
speak Na'vi.
So the young brother put himself into the spirit of the time period and was quite affected by the impact of the Bible village. So no
Yes,
doubt you
quite
too will
affected.
enjoy
He
your
made a
tour
joke
if you
about
haven't
being
already
from
gone.
the future.
Even if it's a return visit, you'll still be delighted to see people from the first century. Now, in years gone by, Brother Russell Curzon, many of you remember him. He was sort of like the Bethel historian because he would relate
Oh, are we getting a glimpse into some nepotism? Because Ronald Curzon is one of the governing body helpers. That's a pretty unique last name. I'm assuming that this historian is Ron Curzon's dad? We're getting real inside baseball, but he's making all these, like, inside references. Like, oh, it's a return visit to come back. Little
specific
ministry
events
reference.
that occurred on that day to the morning worship chairman, who often would share them then with the Bethel family. Well, today is October 5th. So put on your
Right.
thinking caps for a moment. What
Ooh,
noteworthy
thinking
events
craps.
in history have occurred on October 5th? Does Meany, Tekel, and Parson ring a bell?
Ay!
Yes, the handwriting on the wall appeared in Belshazzar's palace on October 5th,
Why did he write something that would sound so silly? Like, why would God write this thing that sounds like something you would say when you're trying to, like, tickle someone? Like, eeny, meeny, tickle the parsnips!
539
whatever.
BCE, according to the Gregorian
I
calendar.
know it's not eeny, meeny, tickle and parsnips, but,
about
it's
in our
something
common
like
era?
that.
In the month of October 1924, Jehovah's People were busy distributing around the world a printed
weird.
resolution entitled Ecclesiastics Indicted. Now, this is a copy of that
Hey,
tract.
Sauerbrei
life-size.
Joe.
Imagine distributing this tract to people in your territory or putting it in their doors.
Can you imagine how embarrassing that would be? What suckers those old Bible students
To the
were.
resolution stated the following. The indictment herein is laid chiefly against the clergy, showing that they have fallen before the temptations of Satan, proved unfaithful to the Lord and to the responsibility resting upon them, and that this is the chief cause of the world's present deplorable state. Strong words from the organization back in 1924.
Bold words, those! Bold words, those. Does it occur to them at all that there used to be a certain quality to the writing of the publication? I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying there is a certain quality to it, whereas now all of their articles sound like they were written by ChatGPT, and the only reason why we know they aren't is because they've sounded like that since before the invention of, like, Google.
Point number 3 of the resolution stated this, that they, the clergy, have failed and refused
You
to
are a
preach to the
clergy.
people the message
He's
of
doing a
Messiah's
clergy
kingdom
right now.
and to point them to the evidences relating to his second presence. And being
Okay.
unwilling to wait the Lord's
This is boring. He's just reading from an old newspaper
seat
that they
station, keeping
made.
an eye
An old
seeking
witness
to find
publication.
him. So Brother Johnson decided to hide in a nearby church.
Oh, no. I want to hear about Brother
Frank
Johnson. Whoa.
Well, back in 1924, as reported in the October 2024 study edition of the Watchtower, in the small town of Cleveland, Oklahoma, Brother Frank Johnson finished distributing the tracts 20 minutes before he was to be picked up by
Frankly,
other
my
publishers.
dear, I don't give a Johnson.
Well, he couldn't just wait out in the open because men from the town were angered and they were seeking to find him. So Brother Johnson decided to hide in a nearby church. Finding it empty, he left copy of Ecclesiastics indicted in the preacher's Bible
Is he getting a little embarrassed? He's like getting flushed.
and at each seat. He exited the church as quickly as he had come. Well, he still had some time, so he visited 2 more churches, following a similar pattern. Frank rushed back to the spot where he was to be picked up. He hid behind a fuel station, keeping an eye out for the men who were with him. The men drove by, but they didn't see him. As soon as they were gone, Frank's fellow preachers, who had been witnessing nearby, arrived to pick him up, and they all drove off together. Now, as they were leaving town, one of the brothers recalled, "We passed by the 3 churches. There were as many as 50 people standing out in front of each church. Some of the people were reading the tract, others were holding it up for the preacher to see. Well, we had a very close call," he said, "but we thanked Jehovah our God for his protection and the knowledge to outwit these enemies of the kingdom." So that's
Outwit? In what way? That was a real outwit, outplay, outlast move, apparently. I don't understand what they're even...
part of our
implying.
theocratic history, your theocratic history.
A guy hid in a
You
church and
continue to
played
preach
some
with the same
old
boldness.
tracts.
Those were exciting times, but we too are living in exciting times. On
Yeah.
October 5th, 2002,
You know why? It's because it's exciting to be alive. There's always things happening. Alright, I'm kind of bored of him just recapping events. Oh!
10 years ago at the annual meeting of 2014, we were introduced to the first epic episode of the series Become Jehovah's Friend. And it was entitled
The epic cartoon short series. Okay, this is really strange. He plays a trailer for this thing, implying that it's like a future release, but then they just play the movie, not the movie, but the full cartoon later. So he's playing like a 30-second trailer for a cartoon that's like 4 minutes long that they're going to play later in the broadcast. So I'm just going to skip that part.
Past July, he completed 30 years serving on the governing body. Brother Lush will now discuss the theme, Our Privilege to Glorify Jehovah.
Epic Mickey rebrushed. I really want to get that. I love Epic Mickey. I was just replaying the Wii one recently. Not to be super off topic. Okay. I remember this. It's all coming back to me now. So this is Garrett Lush, which he says in an interesting way. And I think he mentions that he's one of the oldest guys on the governing body.
But the first talk of our symposium will be given by the longest-serving member of the governing body, Brother Garrett Lush. The past
Lush.
July, he completed 30 years serving on the governing body. Brother Lush will now discuss the theme,
Lush.
Our Privilege to Glorify Jehovah.
By the way, shout out to the Blue Envelope channel, who I haven't watched their latest video, but a couple videos ago, he made a video about how long it's been since each of the governing body members have had a job. I had brought this up on a stream probably 2 years ago, because David Splane was like, kids these days don't want to work. Employers are always complaining. And I was like, when was the last time any of them had jobs? And Blue Envelope made a video responding to it. And it's really fascinating. It's been like decades since even the youngest one has had a job, I guess, prior to these two new guys. But Garrett Lush has been on the governing body for 30 years, which means he was just like a Bethelite and a normal Jehovah's Witness for at least a few decades before that, right? Many years before that, anyway. So it's been a long time since this guy has had to really deal with planet Earth. And maybe that's why he thinks this is a good idea, this thing he does. Now, I'm playing this at 1.25 speed, so imagine how slow this is in real time. An extremely necessary visual prop.
As you can see, this is a mirror.
Uh-huh.
Did you look into a mirror before you came here? Perhaps, judging by your neat and clean appearance,
God, this is gonna be real ASMR shit. Okay, so I think that was my first curse of the stream. I was really trying not to. I've been trying to work on cursing. I think I've had to come around on that, because I know people listen with their kids sometimes. So, this is really, it kind of does look like the mirror in the movie The Ring. So, this guy trots out this prop like he's really going to blow us away with some illustration we've never heard before. And then he does an illustration that I have heard at, like, I'm going to say every single assembly for my entire witness life. So, let's just go ahead and say I've heard this over 50 times from random Joe Schmo rank and file publishers that, did any of us look in the mirror before we came to the meeting / assembly / convention / Gilead graduation today? I'll bet you did, brothers. You adjusted your ties, and you sisters made sure your lipstick was on straight. And if we care about our appearance before God, blah, blah, blah. Like, everybody does this. It's so lazy. This is a lazy old guy spending 30 years, and this is the best he can come up with? Shameful.
you obviously did.
You
Ancient
obviously.
mirrors were generally made of metal, such as bronze or copper, even silver and gold.
Oh,
They
I
had to
see.
be highly polished, but still did not have as fine a reflecting surface as do glass mirrors.
As
This is what the
Douglas.
Apostle Paul said in 1 Corinthians 13:12. For
Mirrors,
now
guys.
we see in hazy outline by
Freaking
means
mirrors.
of the metal.
How did those work?
Probably only in the 1st century glass mirrors were introduced. In the scriptures we find
God's
two
mirrors were introduced? Is that what he said? Does that work? Is it going to work if I do?
figurative uses of the term mirror.
Wow.
For instance, in James,
Great. So he brought out a mirror, a real mirror, and just was then like, mirrors, took some metal and some glass to make mirrors. That's how they're made. And they were invented late in Bible times. So there's not a lot of mentions of mirrors in the Bible, but there's a little bit. Let's look at some of the Bible's mirrors.
the 1, verses 22 to
So we're
25.
taking quite a
says,
winding path to get to
However,
the points.
become doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves with false reasoning. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, this is like a man looking at his own face in a mirror. For he looks at himself and he goes away and immediately forgets what sort of person he is. But the one who peers into the perfect law,
Mirrors would have been something that probably only the upper class had back in those days, and certainly writing was something that took a great deal of training. Like, very few people generally knew how to write, and that's usually how we know that the people who claim to have written books of the Bible didn't actually write them, like the Gospels. Like he said, this was one of Paul's letters, so I'm
that
kind of going
belongs
off
to
for no
freedom
reason.
and continues
My
in
bad.
it has become not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work. And he will be happy in what he does.
Great point,
And
Vaughn.
the
I'm going to
Apostle
set
Paul
aside this comment for
showed that
later.
Christians reflect, like mirrors, the glory of Jehovah in their ministry. In chapter 3, he wrote,
All that just to say that we need to reflect godly qualities. Like, okay, we understand. We get it. I'm going to skip ahead. He's doing my favorite Garrett Lush hand
bodies
gesture.
is one sort, and that of the earthly bodies is a different sort. The glory of the sun is one sort, the glory of the moon is another.
Oh, wait, this is crazy. Okay, so he starts, I remember this from Danny's stream yesterday. He starts getting into the different types of glory.
So how do the
Whoa! Fly! There's a fly. A fly just flew on his head. Look at this.
a mirror that reflects Jehovah's glory.
So he has a stinky head, we now know. His head smells bad. It's attracted to whatever unique blend of chemicals keeps his hair like that. I know. Glass houses, so forth.
How do the scriptures use
Having
the
a
word
Mike
glory?
Pence moment.
Well, there are different types of glory.
Different types of glory.
In 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 40 to 44,
Chapter 15.
it says, "And there are heavenly bodies and earthly bodies. But the
Ooh.
glory of the heavenly bodies is one sort, and that of the earthly bodies is a different sort. The glory of the sun is one sort, the glory of the moon is another, and the glory of the stars is another. In fact, star differs from another star in glory. So it is with the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption, it's raised up in incorruption.
Okay.
It's sown in dishonor, it's raised up in.
All right.
It's sown a physical body, it's
Oh.
types of glory. Of course, Jehovah has. Let's discuss 5 types of glory.
5 types of glory. Count them 5. We went straight to the science, the Bible, and it describes 5 types of glory. Heavenly bodies, earthly bodies, the sun, the moon. Presumably a 5th thing.
Of course, Jehovah has and deserves the highest degree of glory.
She says Jennifer's
Then
body.
There's the glory of Jesus.
That's good.
Which is second to the one of God. In John
Yes,
1:14 it says, "So the Word became flesh and resided among us, and we had the view of his glory. A glory that such as belongs to an only begotten Son from the Father." And he was full of...
And it's here that I feel kind of the call towards doing a supercut of him saying glory this many times. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it feels like the universe is trying to tell you something.
the angels, now crowned with glory and honor for having suffered death. Hebrews 2.
Nonsense,
says
just
that we're
nothing.
speaking abusively of glorious ones, who
Oh
were the
my
glory
God.
when taken
Glorious
to heaven,
ones.
all anointed, not only anointed overseers, will receive everlasting glory. 2 Timothy 2:10 says,
I can't deal with how boring this talk is. I really can't. This is the worst talk I've ever heard.
knowledge of God, and transform our lives according to it. It brings glory to Jehovah God. One's conduct can cause also others to give glory to God. Our conduct is
If you throw a rock 2 inches, you're going to hit the word glory in any direction.
not perfect, we all know that. Still, Jehovah accepts us. However, that does not excuse us from keeping ourselves as
Say
mirrors
glory
in a
one
clean
more
and
time.
polished shape as much as we can. In the dark, no mirror reflects anything except darkness. A mirror does not have any glory or light in itself.
Darkness, no
Similarly,
pens.
we are aware that any glory we might have is just a reflection of God's glory.
Wow. So really, any good qualities you have? No, you don't. You don't have good qualities. You're just reflecting the good qualities that God has. The only parts of you that are you are the sinful parts, and you got to tamper those down.
1 Peter chapter 2, verse 12 says, "Mirrors are
I
adornments
can't. This is so
neighbors,
bad.
including those at our workplace. This may prompt people who
The
are not
workplace.
witnesses of Jehovah to glorify God, as Jesus put it. And I quote, "Let your light shine before men so that they may see your fine works." So it's not just preaching, fine works, and give glory to your Father who is in the heavens.
Yeah, so what he's saying is that witnesses have to be really witnessy all the time and preach to people at work. So if you're like a non-witness and your witness coworker is constantly trying to talk to you about witness stuff, this is why. It's because they're trying to reflect God's glory, and they think that just by being like kind of performatively Christian all the time, that you'll be like, wow, this person's so amazing, their religion must be true, so I will now join their religion. Witnesses do be witnessing,
Jehovah
it's true.
for perhaps decades.
I
but
really-
also haven't we? We have
My
enjoyed
brain
so
cannot
many
handle
privileges.
this. Sometimes with my ADHD, it's not even that I can't focus. It's that I get a little angry that it's expecting me to focus.
What unique responsibility do we as older ones now have? We must allow the next generation to come up so they too can enjoy unique privileges in glorifying Jehovah. They are the
So this is okay. Now we're getting into something I actually can give commentary on. That's kind of the thing. Like a lot of this, there's not anything to talk about. So this, though, he's trying to spin things for the older members. I feel like there's usually a talk aimed at older folks at the annual meeting because every year there's a new generation of Jehovah's Witnesses who's, well, not every year, but, you know, there's always a past generation of Jehovah's Witnesses who have been in the organization since the time they were young and definitely thought that they would never grow old in this system, you know, in our world as we know it. They thought that Armageddon was going to come a long time ago and that they would be living in paradise by now. And that just keeps on not happening, sort of like it just keeps on not happening since Jesus was here in the first place 2,000 years ago or whenever. So that's kind of what he's doing is like, okay, no, but you do have a role, older people. You get to make way for the next generation. Isn't that great? Okay, Lava Blues Autism is angry. Yes, Jane, I do know what glory holes are. I do know what they are.
next generation of like circuit overseers, Bethelites, missionaries, construction servants, branch committee members, and so on. We want them
to be a branch committee
have
member.
A marvelous privilege that we have enjoyed as well.
All those things talked about in the Bible, like being a branch overseer or a construction servant.
It means we must look for ways to teach them, to train them, to encourage them, so that they may use their youth and strength and ability to glorify Jehovah. What a privilege we have as older ones to train and teach younger ones.
Oh.
With that in mind,
Creepy
it is a
look.
pleasure to announce that 2 additional brothers have been appointed to serve as members of the governing body.
Well, ha ha ha, yay. Okay, so here's the first big announcement. 2 new members of the governing body. So this whole talk about, like, I don't really understand this mirror thing and how that ties into having new members of the governing body. Also, sorry for the goddamn lighting. And sorry I cursed again and used the Lord's honorific in vain. I didn't say Jehovah, damn it. Now I did as an example. But he's basically trying to lay the track for, like, okay, older people, we're dying off. These new guys got to come in so they can continue the work because we're old and tired and dying openly on camera month by month. So he's kind of trying to justify bringing in new members of the governing body. And then later, Jeffrey Jackson is going to season this with salt a little bit more, to use witness parlance, right? What I always find interesting is who they choose to give the talks announcing New Light, because it's always quite strategic. If you'll remember, Sam Hurd gave the talk announcing the change in field service hours. He is extremely old and spent many years in the door-to-door preaching era when, you know, it was like really hardcore preaching and you would spend dozens of hours a week in the ministry, unlike now where you're lucky to get a publisher to preach for 2 hours. Thank you, madam. And so this is now the oldest serving member of the governing body, and they want to have him announce the young guys to kind of get ahead of the idea that, like, the young guys are taking over or that the old guys are being pushed out. They want it strategically to come from the right person, and so I think that's why he is announcing this. Oh my god. And, you know, he gets to soak up all that applause. Isn't that nice? It's kind of like they're applauding him and he gets to smile and feel good. That's kind of what it's all about.
Jacob Rumpf. Both
Oh,
brothers.
let's get these names.
Well, brothers Jody Jedele and Jacob.
Jody, Jedele. That was like a real Roll Juror moment. I did not understand that one bit.
Well, brothers Jody Jedele and Jacob Rumpf. Both brothers are anointed Christians who have a lot.
Sound made up. They sound like names you're saying over the phone in the moment to give a fake name. Like, if I was calling, I was like, my name's Jacob Rumpf. Like Jody J. Lay is my name.
Long history of loyal service to Jehovah.
They're
Brother
anointed.
Jedele began his full-time service in 1989 and Bethel service in 1990. Brother Rumpf began his full-time service in 1995 and Bethel service in 2020. Both
Whoa, okay, so Jacob Rumpf, right? That's the Rumpfmeister. He's only been in Bethel for 4 years, so that's pretty impressive that he moved up the ranks that much. But, like, they're not necessarily appointing people based on how long they've been around. It's more like, what is their resume spiritually? So usually these guys have traveled all over the world. Like, they almost always have experience being in, like, the foreign missionary work, doing colonialism full time. They've done that, and they almost always pass through the service department. I believe it's been confirmed that these two guys have. The service department is the department that deals with child sexual abuse. So that means that these members are aware of the kinds of tactics the organization uses to lie about the problems that they have. That's kind of that's what the video tomorrow is going to be about a little bit, is like, to what extent do they really believe it? Kind of trying to take another stab at that concept, because I think it's interesting. I made a video about that early on in making the channel, but the organization has changed a lot even in that amount of time. But yeah, this guy who got there in 2020 makes you wonder, like, if he was a guy who had a reputation within the governing body before then. Yeah.
brothers served as helpers to the service committee of the governing body for a while. We
Yeah,
thank
helpers
our
of the
Heavenly
service
Father Jehovah for raising up such faithful men to share in the work of the governing body. We pray that Jehovah will richly bless Brothers Jedele and Rumpf and their wives.
And their wives. Whoever they are, they don't have names or things they've done in the past. They're just the wives. Just the wives. Pretty incredible. And keep that in mind for a little comment that Stephen Lett makes later. Wives. Little naughty Gibbs. Ah, yeah, little clappy.
We all worship our glorious God Jehovah. We have the glorious good news.
We
to
all
spread.
worship our glorious
Our whole
God
life
Jehovah.
is for the glory
Things
of
human
His
beings
praise.
say.
Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians 10:31, whether you are eating or drinking or doing anything else, do all things for God's glory.
Oh, fun hand
Will
gestures.
you endeavor to reflect like a mirror Jehovah's glory by making the truth manifest
right, the mirror.
in word and example? What a privilege. At the end of the millennium, faithful ones on
What a
earth
privilege. He'll tell you how much of a privilege it is. If you're starting to think it's not such a privilege to be doing all this work for Jehovah, nope, it is. What a privilege it is. Thank you to Frank Claro, by the way, for the super chat. He says, as always, thanks for your time and dedication to this community with your videos and weekly streams. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
will receive and display a measure of glory as perfect sons and daughters of Jehovah. It says in Romans 8:21.
A measure of glory.
The creation itself will also be set free from
You will
ins-
get 1/4 portion of glory. Sorry.
So keep
Sorry I did
polishing
that.
that mirror. Look at the mirror of God's word every day. And like a mirror, reflect God's glory by what you say.
Their name tags are less cool this year. They had like a cool funky design last year. Look at this. Just looks like he works at a hotel.
And do. Appreciate your privilege to glorify Jehovah God. Help young ones to take on privileges of service. We trust you will. And we
Hey,
wish
Falling
you
Tower says he knows
Jehovah's
Jody.
rich blessing in this endeavor. So keep polishing, keep reflecting the light.
Polish that knob. Oh, yeah. And hold up the mirror again so we really understand that it was important that you brought that out. We get it. Let's just skip
By
ahead.
serving, for instance, at Bethel and in theocratic construction. What opportunities are available for younger ones today? For the
People are
answers
always
to these
asking
questions, let us now give our attention
what opportunities
to
I
Brother
have.
Jeffrey Winder, a member of the governing body, who will share the next talk in this symposium entitled Opportunities to Glorify Jehovah at
Aha!
Bethel and in Theocratic Construction.
I kind of feel like we can skip this one, this Winder talk, because it's literally just Christine says long winder. Indeed. Great. Glad they trotted out a whole table for that.
Over 2,700 years ago, Jehovah God inspired the faithful man Isaiah to utter a prophecy that you and I are seeing fulfilled before our eyes.
What?
It's found in Isaiah chapter 60. I invite you to turn there with me.
Let's see. What do we think? Should I skip
Isaiah
this?
60. And let's read together verse 22. From 1,000, and the small one, a mighty nation, I myself, Jehovah, will speed it up in its own time.
Oh!
Like passengers in a
got
car
scared.
that is increasing in speed. Do you sense the momentum of what Jehovah's organization is doing today?
Jesus, that's gonna make me sick. I legit get motion sick. I did not like that. It's bug
Jehovah
man.
is accomplishing a tremendous work worldwide, and all in connection with the kingdom preaching work. And in the face of
Okay, so this is to get back on what they're really doing, which is like corporate spin. They're saying that the work is speeding up. I like this as like corporate buzzwords that don't really mean anything because it's not really a metric that you can, like quantify. How quick's the organization going these days? You can measure things like field service hours, unless you don't count them anymore. Now they just count how many hours pioneers are getting. But how quick the work is, you don't have to count that like you would the amount of people joining the religion as compared to, say, Mormons. So they're just saying that the work is speeding up, that they're just doing a lot more stuff, a lot more hardcore than they used to. Even though I think that's pretty clearly not the case. Well, I don't know. They're definitely producing as much content. It's just mostly videos now.
satanic attack and the wickedness of the last days.
Wait, he said Satan.
Kingdom preaching work.
He's
And
talking
in the
about
face
us.
of satanic attack and the wickedness of the last days, what Jehovah is accomplishing truly glorifies his name.
Truly it does.
But because so much work is being done, there is a need for more workers to keep up with this work. And in this
Aha.
talk, we're specifically going to talk about the needs at Bethel and in theocratic
We
construction.
need workers. How much does it pay? Nothing. When do we want it? Now. Alright, so now let's look at this sad little bit of cult propaganda. It'll be more interesting than whatever Jeffrey Winder is saying. Wait, let's see if he tells us to notice anything.
Involved in Bethel work or theocratic construction work. Watching this video could be like looking at your life in Fast Forward. If you choose the course that these ones chose.
Like how we have
how would that
Winder in
turn out
Fast
for you?
Forward right now.
Let's watch.
Nah, he didn't tell us to notice shit. Sorry. Whoa.
My name is Pavel. I serve at the Finland branch.
My name is
Pavel.
Brad Burke.
Who's Pavel? That's like a fictional character in a thing I was reading recently. Brad Berkwin, construction servant. Alright, so of note, we've got beards in Bethel videos now. They're serious. They're serious about this beard thing, and they want you to know it. Now I have this same shirt. I think I've worn it on stream before.
Burkwin. I'm serving in the
So
Congo.
I'm inclined to like Brad.
My name is Christopher Slay, and we serve in the Nigeria
Slay.
branch.
My name
Kings
is
and
Karen
queens.
Fiddle. I live in Argentina.
I grew up in a sign language congregation
I thought you
because I
said
have
Karen
deaf parents.
Fiddle.
And when I saw the sign language department for the first time, I was so impressed by it. And so I developed my first love for Bethel service.
Oh,
As a young
my first love for working for the company for no money.
man, there was a lot of discussions with my father. He wanted really what amounted to a normal life in this system. I think the contrast for me was the joy of being a fellow worker with Jehovah in the preaching work and just to
I love his glasses. I'll say it right now. That's kind of... I might try and get those. I might try and get those exact glasses.
feel that close friendship with him.
I drifted from my goal and from serving Jehovah
You
because I
feel
didn't
that
have
close friendship with him. You're closer to God, so you just feel it more because you're around God-worshipping people all the time.
friends in the congregation. I only had friends in school. I said, Jehovah, I want to start serving you. I want to give you my all. But tell me how.
Jeez.
Give me a
She
kick.
is giving young
The first step I
Cruella,
took to be able to serve
Emma
was when I
Stone
was 18.
Cruella.
I filled out a form to make myself available. There was a construction project in my circuit, so with my older sister and 2 friends, we started to work there. It was relatively near us, so we supported the whole project.
I would say
Now, a lot of people think that just because you're a woman, we won't let you do hard manual labor for free for us. No. You are more than welcome to be a woman and do back-breaking labor such as cement laying and hanging drywall and roofing.
getting closer to
We will
happy
use your
pioneers.
labor.
I realized
I mean, Jehovah
I was
will
in the
appreciate
truth, they're
it.
in the truth, but they're happier than me. So I started regular auxiliary pioneering, then regular pioneering.
In our congregation, there was a special pioneer couple. Before that, they served at Bethel, and therefore they had a lot
No, I
of
was going to make a joke.
I asked them questions, so I want to
And
serve
then I
in Bethel.
remembered I
What
have
do
a
need
rule
to
about
do?
making
Tell
fun
me.
of the appearance of people in these
When
videos.
I thought of Bethel,
In these
knew Simple
videos,
Sister.
normal members, I do make fun of the governing body.
were serving there. When I became aware of the construction work, I made myself available to increase my service.
Serving Jehovah as fully as you can is not a matter of just drudgery and sacrifices in this system. It's actually the best way of life we can live right now.
Taste and see that Jehovah is good. That will not fail.
Be constantly active and
I did not, when I was a witness, never liked how much they said taste and see that Jehovah's good. Very creepy. How could it not be? Just take a little taste of Jehovah. Like a little, taste Jehovah. You know
serving
where.
Jehovah. Sometimes it may seem that it's not much fun. Perhaps it may seem boring, but actually, serving Jehovah brings so much joy and many blessings.
At Genesis 48,
No. Common misconception. We're not boring. I know you think that because everything that we produce is super boring, but no, it's actually super fun and exciting. By the way, I don't doubt that it's not boring at Bethel. I don't think boredom is my concern with Bethel
15.
generally.
There it refers to Jehovah as being the true God who has been shepherding me during all my life until this day. Jacob realized that Jehovah had taken him to a spiritual place that he would never have been able to go to on his own. And I
You
feel that
simply
Jehovah
must
has
taste
done that with
Jehovah.
me.
Yeah, they got like very hip looking people. Even the, I guess you would say older couple, even though they look like they're probably in their 50s maybe. Like they're all very stylish. They're smart about how they craft these videos, other than the inhuman robotic way that everybody talks, because they're kind of forced to by the likes of Long Winder himself. Winder is coming. What does Jehovah taste like? I bet he tastes like manna. I always heard, I don't know if this is true, that manna was just Jehovah's dandruff.
Friends are serving all over the globe, aren't they? Some in their home branch territories, others in foreign assignments. But how did they describe their life? Was
Remote
it drudgery
work.
and sacrifice and regret? No. Each one of them, in one way or
Did you notice that we didn't include any footage of anybody complaining about their job at Bethel? They only said good things. So you know it's good. Obviously, they wouldn't have included it if they had bad things to say. Like, this is something I realized even as a witness. They would always conclude every interview by asking the witness, like, and do you have any regrets about regular pioneering or going to Bethel or joining the LDC, the Legional Building Committee? And they would say, my only regret, Brother Wilkinson, is not starting to do it sooner. And everyone would be like, and I would think, well, yeah, if they didn't think that, they wouldn't have let him on stage. So that's kind of where we're at with old Windbag here. Well, let's see what he's reading off this piece of paper. Because this is official. So much applause for Windy.
it goes on, this adjustment is effective immediately. Why the change?
Whoa.
Here are 3 reasons.
Okay. So this is in reference, I believe, to the fact that 18-year-olds can now join. So I guess we should get that.
As possible. And so, I have an exciting announcement to read. It reads this way. We are pleased to inform you that the governing body has decided to reduce the minimum age requirement to enter Bethel service or to assist with theocratic construction projects from 19 to 18 years of age.
That was me, like, increasing with anticipation at the announcement. They lowered it by a whole year. We realized, hey, our legal concerns are elsewhere.
It goes on, this adjustment is effective immediately. Why the change? Here are 3 reasons based on Bible principles.
Boom!
Reason number 1, Jehovah is blessing his people with growth.
Yes, governing body
Paul
has
stated in
decided.
Colossians 1:6 that the good news is bearing fruit and increasing in all the world. So it is also doing among you.
And that was written for Jehovah's Witnesses specifically, right? That wasn't written to the, Colossians, maybe?
Today, we are thrilled to see how the good news continues to bear fruit and how much growth is taking place.
Oh, how much?
We also see Jehovah's
We're not
Spirit.
going to say the numbers necessarily, but there's so much growth. Oh, the glory of young men is their strength, you say. Do tell.
Our current and future needs require more young brothers to make themselves available for expanded theocratic
People
service.
who can lift stuff.
Proverbs 20:29 says that the glory of young men is their strength. There is a regular need for your help to handle important assignments. Reason number 3,
For your
we
health?
want you to benefit as soon as possible from additional theocratic training.
Oh.
Paul said in Philippians 3:8,
We want you to benefit as quickly as possible from additional theocratic training. Before, you had to wait a whole year before you could join our club at Bethel and be super indoctrinated and go to week-long, 2-week-long, month-long classes where you're just totally immersed in the religion.
what is more,
We're
I
doing
do
this for
as
you.
possible to handle more responsibility.
Isn't it nice that we're letting more teenagers do free labor for us? Jehovah loves this group. He lets us do amazing things like that.
Theocratic construction around the world, many of you courageously accepting foreign assignments, and we truly love you for your example and your life of self.
Courageously accepting foreign assignments. As we all know, places that are foreign are scarier and more dangerous.
We know that you parents, you love your children,
Takes
and you want the
bravery
very
to be
best
among
future
foreigners.
possible for your young ones. And so
Is
we
what he's
encourage you,
saying.
set goals of full-time service in front of your children and help them to
Set the goals in front of your children. You can't make them, but you can just set it right in front of them constantly. And maybe kind of take away some of their non-JW privileges and they don't start doing more witness stuff.
achieve these goals. And will you miss them if they should be called to Bethel or they go off on a Kingdom Hall assignment somewhere? Of course you will. But don't hold them back and insist that they stay home with you for fear of missing them. You may be depriving them of the most fulfilling life.
Parents, are you gonna miss your kid if you send them to Jehovah's Witness Hogwarts where there's no magic and only hard labor? Yeah, of course. But have you considered that you're holding them back from having a fulfilling life? Their life with their fleshly family isn't that fulfilling. What'll be really fulfilling is scrubbing toilets and loading the big ink machines at the printery and building a fucking wall in the garden that we make. Sorry, just
But
said
rather,
the F
can you
word.
be like Hannah? Turn with me, please, to 1 Samuel chapter 1.
Can we be like Hannah, one of the few
1 Samuel 1:28.
women with a name in the Bible?
Jehovah blessed Hannah with his son. And what did she say?
Hannah is somebody who, unlike the governing body members' wives, has a name. All right, I can't deal with Winder doing this crap anymore. This malarkey. All right, good. Now, my favorite part of these talks, as you'll see in the upcoming Awkward Silence Supercut, is when they leave
Speak on the theme,
stage.
opportunities
There's a
to
big wide
glorify
shot.
Jehovah in the field.
Yes. Some of you may die, but that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
It was
are you here?
140 years ago.
Oh, poor Urso. Okay, so Urso is in the background. She does this thing where we close the bathroom door, but she gets her way in there. And she likes to just go in there and meow. She likes the acoustics, like singing in the shower. That's literally what she does. It's insane. I promise she's not trapped under a boulder or something. She's having a good time. Oh, yes. Urso is just having a good time, but this is as good a time as any to... Dang it, did I not upload the pet drop that I have? No, I made one for pets. I forgot to render it. Oh, okay. Well, tune in next week for that.
in 1884, when Zion's Watchtower Tract Society was legally incorporated. Now, I know there are many gray beards here, but I understand that none of you were present on that occasion.
Yeah. So just celebrating the incorporation of a company.
That's reassuring.
It is
was just as
reassuring.
Zechariah
I'll bet that is reassuring, because if there were people from the Bible student movement there, they would not recognize this movement in any way, shape, or form. And they would probably be disgusted. In fact, they definitely are, because Bible students still exist, and their website is basically all about how they're not Jehovah's Witnesses, and how Jehovah's Witnesses corrupted Russell's teachings when Rutherford took over. That's neither here nor there.
Chapter 4 and verse 10 says,
Actually, it is
was
right here
a
on the screen.
day of small beginnings, really just a handful. But what has Jehovah accomplished in the field in the last 140 years? Today, we have nearly 9 million who are preaching the good news of God's kingdom in some 240 lands and with publications in more than 1,000
Nearly
languages.
9 million.
Brother,
Nearly 9 million. So that sounds like we're rounding up. Sounds like not quite 9 million. Sounds like the 8 million, the 8.5 that you've had for the last, 10 years. Maybe. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses love numbers when it makes them look good. They do not like numbers when they make them look bad or contradict with their reverse-engineered prophecies. For example, numbers provided by historians about when Jerusalem was destroyed. They don't like that. They don't like those numbers. But they do like maybe the membership of the Catholic Church or the LDS Church or Seventh-day Adventists who, increase at a higher rate than them. Actually, maybe not the Seventh-day Adventists.
aren't we moved to glorify Jehovah for what he has accomplished?
I know, it almost seems like they're like, you gotta have a beard. He does. There's no saving this fate. I think he looks better
But
than
how
he did
did we
before.
get to this point? And what has been a major factor in the global...
I mean, that really would be the question a Bible student would ask if they were alive, is how did you get to this point? How did you get to the point where 1914 was Christ's invisible presence? How did you get there?
expansion that Jehovah's organization has experienced? And what opportunities are open in the field for our young ones? Please watch.
Jane, what is going on with
Perhaps you think of someone
Glory hole
older who has been
comments.
preaching for many years. But of course,
Ooh.
many were very young when they started.
Oh, very young.
In fact, in the mid to late 1940s, 30% of the missionaries sent from Gilead were under 24 years of age.
Wow, this voiceover is like by Ben 10 or something.
They were young, energetic,
Cartoon Network
full of life,
boy
willing to accept assignments
character.
around the world, and they accomplished incredible things. For instance, in 1943, we were preaching in 54 lands,
I wonder why all the pictures were of white people.
and the number of publishers was still relatively small. Jehovah blessed their hard work and zeal. In just 5 years, the number of publishers worldwide nearly doubled. By
not a particularly scientific chart. This is like a real vibes-based chart. It's like, well, here's a small amount of dots. And then as you can see, the amount of dots grow bigger. And actually the dots themselves are big too. There's more of them and the
1953,
dots are
it had
larger.
doubled again, and the reach of Jehovah's organization expanded to 143 lands.
This is now just a PragerU video where it's just like, as you can see, this line is going up to imply the improvement.
That 10-year
of
burst of
things.
activity laid the foundation for Jehovah's organization to grow into what it has become today. Over 8 million people spread across 239 lands, reaching billions with the truth.
Sanderson does kind of look like a mall
Young
Santa.
missionaries have directly contributed to the fulfillment of Jesus' words, preaching the good news of the
Yeah,
kingdom
1953
for a
super
witness
current.
to all the nations. But over 80 years have passed. Perhaps you're thinking, is there still a need for missionaries today?
No, that's not the question that people are asking after hearing that it's been going on for 80 years. They're thinking, but you keep saying that the end's going to be like this year or really soon, and it keeps not being soon times 80 years, and really much longer than that. My bad, I could have made this screen bigger the whole time. Shout out to you champions who would put up with a bad screen for the first hour and 9 minutes.
What do the facts show? We see tremendous growth and potential for...
The facts, such as those dots and that line that was going up on that cartoon graph that didn't have any data on it at all, and the vibes of the whole thing.
For more growth around the world. What has happened just during the past service year? Mozambique had an all-time peak in memorial attendance of well over 400,000. That's more than 4 times the number of publishers.
Don't
in that
lie,
land.
we got some
Angola
dots and we're gonna make a
averaged
chart.
over 900 new missionaries a month. Excuse me, new publishers a month. That's a lot. Wow. The Congo branch averaged more than...
Hang on, did he say that's a lie? Wow.
Averaged over 900 new missionaries a month. Excuse me, new publishers a month. That's a lot. Wow.
Oh, I think he was trying to jokingly say, that's a lot. Wow. But sometimes, when they make a mistake, they'll say things like, I hope you don't think I'm stupid, or something else revealing, like, spiritual grift. And I think he might have just said that's a lie.
Wow.
Okay, I barely missed it, but it was kind of worth it.
A month. That's a lot. Wow.
Damn it, he kind of did say lot. Oh, alright. You win this round, Sanderson. But I think it was definitely worth slowing that down. Very much worth it. And
The
in fact,
Congo
I'm going to do
branch
it next time somebody
averaged
laughs.
more than 1,300.
Wait, can we play it backwards? I don't know how. There's probably like a keyboard shortcut. There's no playback speed reverse, right? Nah.
New publishers a month. And in Philippines, on average, more than 1,000 were baptized every month. Well, brothers and sisters, in these places that are experiencing rapid growth, there
How many
is
people
a
die every
huge
month, do you
need
think?
for more missionaries. But there are also needs in other lands. Many countries have been blessed to have long-time missionaries who have done excellent work. But many of those faithful ones have now passed on. Others have had to leave their assignments because of having to care for aging relatives or because of their own health challenges.
Or because we reassigned them arbitrarily after decades of service.
So, here's the question. Is there still a need for missionaries today? The answer is absolutely yes. There
The
is
old
a
people keep
tremendous work
dying
to be
and we need
accomplished
young
in the
people.
world in missionary service. And enthusiastic and zealous young people are still being sent out every year to serve as missionaries. For example, recently, the Service Committee sent 36 new missionaries to Madagascar and 10 to Latvia. Well, now, how do these young missionaries feel about their privilege of service? Let's watch.
Our main preaching need at the moment in Madagascar is training of new ones. We have new publishers who are not even baptized yet, having progressive Bible studies. So we were very happy to receive new young missionaries being assigned.
When our branch committee learned that we will get some new missionaries to Latvia, we were really thrilled.
We were 3 years special pioneers, and later we received this letter. I was thinking, Latvia? What do you know about Latvia?
My legs was trembling, but then I say, oh, it's exciting.
For me, it's...
Her legs were scrambling?
Still like a
Scrambling?
dream. And sometimes I'm asking Francie, is it really real?
I was expecting maybe somewhere in Africa, and he said, no, you will have beautiful snow.
We've really felt these new missionaries
I like her.
invigorating. Their enthusiasm is really pushing the work forward.
Now many publishers
That guy's scary. I mean, this is his energy I don't love.
Africa, and he said, no, you will have beautiful snow.
Hang on, real quick. Just we've earned a little treat after enduring so much of this.
Maybe somewhere in Africa, and he said, no.
No.
You will have beautiful snow.
We've really felt these new missionaries invigorating the field. Their enthusiasm is really pushing the work forward.
Now many publishers are more active in service and pioneer spirit is increasing.
More publishers are more
Blessing in our
active than ever.
assignments, especially by the children in our congregation.
The morale
when
is
they hug you,
improving
you feel like home
mandatorily.
and the language doesn't matter anymore.
I love my missionary assignment because it has opened my eyes to something beautiful.
The ministry is simply amazing. Being a missionary, it's something special, but on the other hand, it's quite
He kind of looks like Crispin Glover.
a normal Christian life, focused on the preaching and enjoy everyday life. It's okay to be afraid, to have doubts, but give Jehovah a chance.
Being a missionary is the big.
Wow, the first acknowledgement that doubts exist. And it's like, it's just having doubts about your own ability to complete your assignment.
Experience in my life.
My assignment strengthened my spirituality because now I know I'm not afraid of more difficult tasks.
I agree.
I will accept the more difficult tasks. Oh, he looks embarrassed.
So we need many more young people to take up missionary service. Well, that raises the question, how do you become a missionary? Well, the
Great
first step
question.
is to enter
I was
full-time
thinking
service.
the same thing,
And then,
Mark.
after you've been in full-time service for 2 years, what do you need to do? You need to apply for the School for Kingdom Evangelizers. SKE is the door to missionary service. You also need to have the spirit of
What does Mark Sanderson know about the door to missionary?
Isaiah when he said, "Here I am, send me, willing to go wherever."
I always forget if he's married. Ask this literally every time we see Mark Sanderson. Is he married?
Organization might assign you. After you graduate SKE, you could receive an assignment to serve as a temporary special pioneer in your home country so that you can gain experience. And if you do well in that assignment, you could receive an assignment to serve as a missionary in another country. Missionary service is
It's like a
thrilling
ladder, you see.
opportunity to bring the good news to honest-hearted people in another part of the world. We
Kind of a
need young people
pyramid-shaped
who want to go and make disciples
structure.
of people of all the nations. Well, how old do you need to be to apply for the School for Kingdom Evangelizers?
Oh! No, 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 no.
To apply,
we must, and folks, if you're just listening, you know, if you're driving, don't take your eyes off the road. But Mark Sanderson's eyes nearly bug out of his head like Large Marge.
For the School for Kingdom Evangelizers.
Oh no, he's like the scary baptism talk guy. A brother approached me. Ah, he did the eyebrow
Well, we're
raise.
very pleased to announce today that the governing body has decided
You
that
can
young
be
brothers
14
and
years
sisters
old.
21 years of age or older may now apply to attend SKE. Isn't that exciting and wonderful?
Yes, 21-year-olds, oh my god. I don't know about someone, but I'm feeling 21.
But many of you young ones right now are serving where the need is greater, perhaps even in another country. That's wonderful. But
Another country, you say? Other than where, Mark? Every country is another country to someone.
we encourage you now to apply for the School for Kingdom Evangelizers. You see, this will allow the organization to see where you could best be used in the worldwide field.
What kind of cog shape are you? You know? All right, enough of Mark. Enough of Mark Sanderson. We get it. Oh, we're back to Gage, but he's just the host. What do these call him? Chairman.
Evangelizers. Did those changes come as a bit of a surprise to you? Well,
Yes.
that's sort of related to the next talk on our program.
Remarkably
Brother
surprising.
Jeffrey Jackson will discuss the theme, Don't Be Surprised by Sudden Changes. Brother
Okay, so don't be surprised by his sudden change into a goatee. I think he showed it on camera before, but I believe, and we've seen a lot of new beards around these parts today. Gage Flegel, contrary to some opinions, I think it's fine. I think his beard is fine. I think that Jeffrey Jackson's beard is disgusting, his goatee. Now, I'm also
Jeff, you
prejudiced
have our
against goatees,
attention.
but...
Well, I'm sure we all agree.
Oh! He has gone away from the goatee, and he now looks like... I took a screenshot of him and took the white crayon tool and just kind of scribbled on him. It literally looks like... I literally did that to Stephen Lett when they did the beard announcement, and it kind of looks like this. He's got a really clean chin strap, and hey, as somebody who sometimes has a chin and sometimes doesn't, or has more than one, I know this move, Jeffrey. I understand what you're doing with the chin strap.
With this fact, in recent years, there have been a lot of changes. Even since the last annual meeting, there have been many changes. Some of them, perhaps, are a little surprising or may seem
Some
to
of them
be
are
sudden.
perhaps a little surprising. So what are we going to do about these beards?
But you know, brothers and sisters, when we look back on how these changes have come, we can see that Jehovah has gradually prepared us for each of these adjustments and changes.
He
Let's
eases you
review some
into
of
the
the
hot
recent
tub.
changes we've had.
Such changes.
What changes have we seen with regard to our understanding of Bible teachings? At the 2021 annual meeting, we received an adjusted
Whoa.
understanding of John 5:29. It was explained that
is
the
this?
resurrection of judgment will not be a judgment of condemnation. Rather,
Hello.
Is it a good time for
Yeah, let's
a
say
peachy break?
let's take a Peachy break and just say hi to Peach real quick. What's up, Peachy?
I just
Let's
picked
say
her
hi
up.
to people.
She was sleeping.
Hey, she was a sleepy girl. We of course love. Ah, she's scared to be on camera. She gets a little nervous sometimes, but she's very healing. Peach has healing powers. So anyone who is feeling a little,
She's part of the Madrigal family.
she does. She's part of the family Madrigal. We were watching Encanto and listening to the soundtrack a lot. We had a nice Disney adult Friday or whenever that was.
Yeah, I don't remember what day. But it was fun.
It was fun. Okay, so this looks like a crappy little graphic that would be on the display at a National History Museum.
it will be more like a period of probation.
My read.
The unrighteous mentioned at Acts 24:15 will have an opportunity to gain everlasting life. But their names will not be written
They
in
love
the book
this.
of
They love this. They love showing Jehovah's Witnesses teaching Bible characters in the New World. It is always the freaking statue. It's always the statue. What lies in the shadow of the statue? That's a lost reference. Stay tuned. This is absurd, and I do think, by the way, that we do have to quickly acknowledge that we're kind of in an art worldly segment. Okay, welcome to Art Worldly. So this is another depiction of them describing the goddamn statue prophecy to resurrected Bible characters. We know that they're resurrected because obviously when you come back from the dead, you're kind of in, not necessarily the clothes you were wearing when you died, but you will be fitted with time period appropriate clothing. The more modern guy is wearing slacks and a sensible button-down shirt. And then we have these kind of old-timey guys who have a little sash around them for no apparent reason. I got a big, fluffy, feathery beard. And then also, there's this guy.
life at the time of their resurrection.
Maybe he's Egyptian
To
because
have
he's
their
bald.
names eventually written in that
Got the
book,
shaved head look.
these ones will need to respond positively to the great educational work that will take place during the 1,000-year reign. Then, at the annual meeting in 2023, we gained enhanced insight into what we do know and what we don't.
Whoa! Okay, we're seeing tattoos, and I love these tattoos. This actually kind of looks like the tattoo that I want to get on my right arm. But this is code for this is a worldly person. You know, they can't just show a guy with a beard anymore. So they have to show that this is a worldly person with tattoos. There's some behind her ear. Oh my god, she's going to have to cover it up with makeup like Count Olaf, the way he covers his tattoo if she goes to the meetings to avoid stumbling people. And I think what we're seeing is a disfellowshipped person looking at the news and also looking at maybe like a letter from a family member encouraging them to come back to the organization because Armageddon is coming soon.
Don't know concerning Jehovah's judgments. We learned that the door of opportunity for people to take a stand for the kingdom does not shut when the Great Tribulation starts with the destruction of false
Yes.
religion.
Well, I'm gonna
At
set
that
this
time,
aside for later.
Perhaps some will be like the Egyptians in Moses' day, who took up
Whoa, so she made it right in time. So we can see in the background that the cops are doing raids. They're going door to door, being like, "Where are the witnesses? Where you hiding your witnesses?" They sound like Cockney British people for some reason. And so she made it just in time before they get to their house, because as we've seen in other infamous videos, there's probably a basement or an attic where witnesses are hiding and praying together, waiting for God to miraculously intervene. Of course, just off camera, out of frame, there's angels staring down, kind of looking X-ray vision style through the house. We've seen that in
the
other
last minute
pictures.
stand and joined the exodus of God's people.
Why is her face gone? Because she
At
joined
the same
Jehovah's
annual
Witnesses.
meeting, we adjusted our views with regard to Jehovah's judgments of those who died in the flood and those who were
Whoa.
destroyed in Sodom and Gomorrah. Also at that
Right.
annual meeting, an adjustment was made.
Yeah, they needlessly said, hey, I don't know, maybe people who died in the flood will come back to life. We used to say no way, and now we're saying probably. I don't know.
Regarding the reporting of our time and activity in our preaching work. Instead of focusing on reports, we try to make good use of every opportunity to witness.
But still fill out a report every month. You just don't put your time on it. So, I mean, it's not like they're not doing reports.
Then we received the 2024 Governing Body Update, number 2.
Whoa.
In that update, we saw the need to adjust how we interact with those who have committed serious sins and have been removed from the congregation.
Wow. Ben Ford is rolling over in his grave. He's not dead, but he would still be surprised by this. That they're showing a disfellowshipped worldly guy and an elder guy, and they both have a beard. So there's a disfellowshipped guy with a beard and a witness with a beard living together in harmony. It's beautiful.
Interact
Except they're
with
not
those who have
harmonious
committed serious sins
doctrinally.
and have been removed from the congregation. What other major adjustments have we recently seen?
Whoa, they got to squeeze in a couple
preaching
more.
work, the emphasis now is on starting Bible studies and making disciples. Not on
Oh, yeah. Totally new. This is totally different from when I was in. Used to be, they never told us to start Bible studies. Never heard that. Never heard our focus is on studying Bible studies. No, this is a new thing. The focus on starting
Studying
Bible
literature.
studies.
To that end, the focus is on starting meaningful conversations, not just on using memorized presentations. Were you surprised by these adjustments?
No, we actually debunked this when we were reacting to this at last year's convention. Like, we effortlessly pulled up, like, so many quotes where they said exactly this in the past. They just say it every few years as if it's new.
Perhaps so.
It's crazy.
But as we look back, we see how one adjustment in understanding gradually helped us with the next adjustment.
Well, one of those
Isn't it
actually
true
went back in time.
that
Okay.
gradually Jehovah has prepared us? And when we look back on it, we see how logical this training has been to refine our
Totally
understanding.
logical.
But events in the world likewise have changed.
We see that it's logical, don't we? We don't think that the organization is frantically changing things in paltry attempts to be more modern.
It's true, sometimes in the world you have sudden changes. For example, the pandemic.
It's a great point.
But
Never thought about that
oftentimes,
before.
Change in the world is gradual. Isn't it true with regard to the view of morality?
What?
Homosexuality, abortion, even what's acceptable and not acceptable with regard to conduct. All of that has happened gradually in the
Wow. Sex. The gays. Also other things. So they're saying that, no, things in the world happen gradually, not suddenly. But the pandemic's a terrible example of that, because that's a thing that did happen suddenly. Or, like, you know, like a presidential candidate being shot at. Like, that can just happen and totally upend everything, right, in a second. Or some, you know, country can start a war with another country. Things don't always happen gradually. So I don't know what this guy is talking about. I think he's kind of stupid.
the world. And it's not until you look back and see how different the world is today with regard
Right.
to those matters that we see that there have been a lot of changes. But this can be dangerous because as things gradually change, we may get used to gradual change and forget that there are some sudden changes about to occur.
Let's take our Bibles, please, and if you turn with me to the book of...
Okay, so this really feels like a response to things that XJWs have pointed out for a long time, which is that their prophecies regarding the end times don't really make any sense. I made a video on this. I think it's... I made it when they were talking about Russia being the king of the North, this prophesied king of the North from the Bible, and that coinciding with the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. So if you want to watch that, it's that video, like Russia and end time prophecies or something. But one of the things I talked about was that their end time prophecies don't really make any sense because, as he's going to outline, they used to, well, they still teach that the United Nations is going to turn against all religions worldwide. The United Nations has the power to do that, first of all. That's kind of fantastical. And then also, somehow, they're going to unanimously, every nation on Earth is going to decide to ban religion worldwide, which is pretty absurd. At the very least, doesn't seem like we're anywhere close to that kind of thing happening. I mean, we're pretty far away from being like a globally secular world. Like, it doesn't really make sense. But their thought is that witnesses will be the only ones remaining, and that's why cops and SWAT teams are coming after them, because they're the one group of dissidents who are not obeying the new rules to not be religious anymore. So people have pointed out that that kind of seems impossible and ridiculous, and it conflicts with their idea that the end could come any day, because in order for that kind of thing to happen at the UN, like, there would need to be so many, like, global demographic changes. So much would need to change about the world and how the United Nations even works and how religion is thought of in society for that kind of thing to happen. So it kind of undermines their point that this could happen at any day. And so that's what his talk is trying to cut off at the pass. He's trying to say, no, it can still happen any day. Here's why.
And anxieties of life, and suddenly,
Whoa.
that they be instantly upon you. It's interesting to note that Jesus had already said that this day he was referring to would occur at a time that we don't think is likely. So what lesson do we learn from what Jesus said? It's a warning, isn't
it? By whose metrics? At a time that we don't think is likely. Like, that's a paradox, right? Because if it seems like world conditions are so bad that Armageddon's going to come, that conversely means that Armageddon's not going to come, because you're not supposed to be able to see it coming. So you can only not see it coming, but you have to keep on the watch so you know the signs of the times, which won't matter because it's going to happen suddenly. You see, like, it doesn't really make any sense. And so they're kind of trying to mesh these contradictory ideas together, and I don't think it's very successful.
Isn't it? That we can't just sit back and think, well, things are gradually going to develop, we know which way it's going, and maybe it's not going to happen yet. You know, got a little bit more wiggle room there with regard to the schedule. But you see, that's dangerous thinking.
How
what
dangerous
we're going to do is consider two examples of areas where perhaps we could be a little guilty with regard to that. For example, our view with regard to the number of anointed ones remaining on the earth. Now, for many years, what did we think? We thought, well, that number will go down and down and down and down.
He's doing a dance.
I don't know about you, but me, when that report came out, just how many partakers?
He pointed right at us. How did he do that? How did he know where we were?
Yeah, when that report came out, just how many partakers?
All right, so he's saying that people, like, Jehovah's Witnesses believe that 144,000 people alone get to go to heaven, and that, like, number started right after Jesus died, and is there's going to be a cutoff point at some time, and that's kind of confusing in their doctrine. But you would think that there would be fewer and fewer anointed people every year, because presumably there's supposed to be fewer by the time we get to the end, but yeah, that it hasn't been the case. And the organization has gone so far as to say, well, most people who partake of the emblems are just crazy and have some kind of mental imbalance where they think that they deserve to take the emblems. And also, like, it's totally self-identifying. You just do it by partaking of the emblems at the yearly memorial, and it's a total vibe check. If people don't think that you're, like, a legit, serious Jehovah's Witness, they'll just think that you're crazy. So you better be a real company man when you start partaking, so everyone knows that, like, oh wow, he's a real company man and he's of the anointed. Maybe that guy should be on the governing body. But anyway, he's saying the number should be going down, but it's not. So is that a contradiction? No, you sillies.
And what were we thinking?
Whoa.
Well, probably.
What were we thinking?
Maybe we didn't say it, but we were thinking, the number will go down, 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 and there'll be just a couple of old guys in a wheelchair who will get their reward.
This fucking guy. Okay. I'm getting upset because he's doing the same thing that he did last year, where he just makes fun of the teaching that they preached as absolute truth until 5 seconds ago. Like, until this guy got up on stage yesterday, this is what people thought. And now he's like, what kind of stupid crap were we thinking? It doesn't make any sense. Can you imagine thinking something so stupid? And like, yeah, actually the majority of witnesses still think this because they haven't seen this talk yet. So he's just making fun of Jehovah's Witnesses. It's in really poor taste. First of all, it's my job. It's my job to make fun of their teachings. It's kind of fucked up for the leader of the cult to do it. I mean, like, remember when we made you believe that dumb stuff? Well, here's this new thing. It's smart. It's not like the last thing, which we all know is silly, but we went along with it. Completely absurd. I think Jeffrey Jackson's one of the slimiest, dumbest guys. He has no self-perception. And the fact that this guy can show his disgusting, pasty white scribbled on face after lying about child abuse on the Australian Royal Commission, this is a really disturbed, fucked up, narcissistic person.
Well, I'm exaggerating, but that was sort of the feeling, wasn't it? Yeah. But now, what have we seen in recent years? Those numbers have gone up and up.
Everyone's
and
laughing.
not only that, younger brothers have been appointed on the governing body. Now, I know what you're all thinking. 2 new ones, how old are they? We know.
We know. We know what you're thinking. We know what you're thinking. Everybody. They did this too. They did the weird, like, we know what you're thinking. David Splain does it. He did it. It's really weird. They're like, no. We know that you're going to try and find loopholes. But we're not going to let you because we think about that stuff. We know what you're saying. Really weird. Really creepy.
You're not Googling now. But you will be. But you see...
Are you sure you want to introduce the concept of Googling governing body members, Jeffrey Jackson? What do you think is going to be the first thing that comes up when they Google your name, for example? I don't know. That doesn't seem like a very smart joke to make for a guy who's so fucking smart that he's on top of the pyramid.
Careful about what we're thinking with regard to the number of anointed ones left on earth. You see, 19 years ago, I was appointed on the governing body. Even I thought I was too young.
How long has it been?
Now, they tell me I'm not so young anymore.
I thought I was too young, but here I am, bearded, and still here, and not Tony Morris. And now who's making fun of members? Not him, me. Now I'm making fun of people. I mean, it really seems like my totally speculative read on this is that their fundamental disagreements with Tony Morris were over things like this. Like, clearly Jeffrey Jackson thought that this stuff was stupid, which is why he feels so comfortable making fun of it, like literally the way apostates do, like the way that we do. But Anthony Morris kind of used to be that guy. And I think that what happened with Anthony Morris, we don't really know, but it seems like it was some kind of impasse, some kind of dispute, probably a lot of little things adding up to this big schism. And so my read on this is always that, like, he's kind of taking it out on Tony. That's me being an armchair psychologist. I could be totally wrong. But it seems like this is personal for him. Like, he's really passionate about it in a way that, like, you just don't see from the previous talks that we've seen. There's not a lot of passion there. He's clearly worked up about this. Like, this has been on his mind for a while.
See the point. What does the Bible actually tell us with regard to this?
Ooh, thanks,
well,
Governor,
it doesn't
for the super
say
chat.
the number would
Great
just
question.
dwindle down to just having a few
I'm going to save
older
it
ones
for
left.
the end.
The great crowd of other sheep will be judged on the basis of how they deal with Christ.
Now, Rita, that you're assuming that I'm not heeding that calling currently. JWs, you can say the craziest shit, but we'll believe it because you ended it with a joke. I just think it's so insulting to these older members. Like, this is what it's really hard for me to wrap my brain around my grandparents, you know, who have seen these changes. And I understand the sort of like boiling a frog in water thing of like, you kind of don't recognize the change in temperature when you're in it, and it just happens, and all of a sudden all this stuff has changed. I mean, most of us, like anybody who was in the organization for a couple decades, have seen changes like this, where all of a sudden you look back and you're like, whoa, a lot of stuff's different now. I kind of didn't even realize it, because they really do change stuff gradually. They're pretty careful about it, generally speaking. And so it's like, it's really crazy for him to just give the game away and be like, we used to believe some really dumb stuff. And like Gage Flegel whipping out that old publication, be like, that's pretty hardcore. Can you imagine having to place that? Anyway, back to our coloring books and cartoons that we place with people now. Like, it's absolutely insulting. And you know, older folks wake up from the organization. They do, and they post on YouTube, and they start channels, and they become advocates. Like, some of our best advocates are older people who woke up later in life because of stuff like this. And so I don't know what they think they're doing, quite frankly. Like, this is so monumentally stupid. It's why I can't take conspiracy theories about them seriously, because these guys are idiots. They're stupid. They don't know what they're doing. They're clearly not running, like, an efficient business. They're making money, free money, constantly all the time, because they've got, you know, nearly 9 million people giving donations constantly, and they've got this real estate scam. Like, they're just passively making tons of money, but it's not because they're good at what they do. They're just changing shit here and there based on petty squabbles and whatever they think is going to be convenient for the moment to kind of give these aesthetic changes without them having to address the real underlying issues. Like, it's sort of like they're just redecorating the exterior of the Titanic, like, while it's sinking. Like, well, it doesn't really look like it's sinking if we paint it this color. Anyway, that was a rant.
Brothers. So that means the faithful and discreet slave, as well as all the anointed throughout the earth, will continue to be active in doing the work and wanting and needing your support, right up until the time that suddenly they will be reassigned.
Sorry. They must have brought in like PragerU's consultants or just watched those videos, because the like fake graphs that are just there to articulate vibes are very similar. Just like, you know, we thought the graph was going to be doing this, but really, it's just going to fall right down. Not a real graph charting real things, but like a good visual example of what he's saying. He's describing the rapture, too, which is something that they say they don't believe in, but they believe in it, and they just don't call it that. But they do believe that all of the anointed at a certain point are just going to be, like, zapped to heaven. They don't quite know when. And so that's what he's saying. Like, no, like, anybody can be anointed. Doesn't matter how old they are, because when the end comes, they're just going to be suddenly, called to heaven.
And isn't that what Matthew 24, verse 31 says? There'll be a gathering, the final gathering of the anointed from all different parts of the earth. So for us to think, well, you know, there's some new ones on the government body, they're too old. Maybe we've got a little bit extra time. No. Jehovah is making sure
Never think that
the faithful and discreet slave is continuing to work and is effective right up until that time of reassignment. So that's one subject. The second subject we'd like to talk about is our view with regard to the start of the Great Tribulation, with the destruction of Babylon the Great.
This is a crazy man trying to justify what he's wasted his life not just believing, but teaching and perpetuating and insisting that other people believe. They can't possibly accept that they're wrong. That would be embarrassing. But what they can do is rearrange all these little Lego pieces they have and try and put them in a different order and be like, no, if we look at it this way, it really makes sense. And that kind of plugs up that little plot hole, and we figured it out, and now we really have figured it out. And then some other guy's going to come along and be like, yeah, but what about this? And they're like, well, shit.
When we look through the scriptures, in Revelation chapter 16, what does it tell us? That the waters would gradually dry up. Yes, churches are losing support in some countries. For example,
what, the water is churches now? I gave a talk on this. That's not what the water in Revelation meant.
Europe. It wasn't that long ago that most nations in Europe were very religious. But now people are turning their backs on religion. But
not at such a rate that suddenly in Europe there are more atheists than religious people. Like, no, yeah, there's more nuns. Like, that's true. There's more people who have no religious affiliation. But, like, belief in God is still so much more statistically popular than atheism. Like, yes, the numbers, like, very steadily grown up, but I think in whatever the last Pew Research poll they did, it was, like, atheism rose by, like, 2%. It wasn't a lot. It's a lot of people, 2% of the world's population, but it's, like, like, God belief is still in the 90%, I think. Did you like when I went, duh? Really great tangent.
At the same time, when we look at Africa and South America, we see that religion still has a strong influence. So now,
smart. Danny says, I believe this is talking about the problems they've had in European countries recently. I think you're totally right. Great read. That makes a lot of sense.
What could be that little voice in our mind saying, well, yeah, we see it's going in the right direction, but maybe not just yet. We've got a little bit more time left. But again, we need to remember what the scriptures tell us. And if you turn with me this time, please, to Revelation chapter 17, this is one of the chapters that describes the destruction of false religion.
Enormous
or in other words, when the
exhale
Great
pick up on
Tribulation
Mike?
starts. So let's read Revelation 17 and verse 17, and note, please, what it tells us.
This will add up for sure, by the way.
For God put it into their hearts to carry out his thought. Yes, to carry out their one thought by giving their kingdom to the wild beast until the words of God will have been accomplished.
So this is, it is sped up. We've got it on 1.25 speed, I think. A survey that the majority are now atheists in the UK? Oh, wow, okay. I didn't see that. Send it to me. So one of my earlier videos is actually on this idea that God puts things into people's hearts to accomplish his will. It's a really crazy, creepy problem with Jehovah's Witness beliefs because it really undercuts the notion of free will. Like, do people have free will to serve God or not? Like, we are, by JW doctrine, in this time of testing where people are choosing sides between Jehovah and Satan. And people who don't join Jehovah's Witnesses and actively associate with his organization, they're on Satan's side. And so certain people, satanically, are going to enact this apocalyptic endgame that they're talking about, where the UN turns on religion and all that stuff. So why the fuck was I talking about? Damn it. Oh my god, my brain died. The reason why I was talking about that is, putting the ideas in people's hearts. So, like, the problem is, are people joining the religion of their own free will or not? Like, does free will exist? Because if God is going to put in the idea to turn against him into people's hearts, then it wasn't their choice, was it? That, like, they didn't choose it. God put that idea into their hearts. And the really confusing thing they say is they're like, well, God is pretty sure that they just would have done that anyway. Like, whatever. He's only picking people whose hearts were already wicked. It's weird. Their notion of free will doesn't make sense. Maybe free will as a concept doesn't make sense in general, but I digress.
Now, what is this one thought? Well, up to now, we've said the one thought is their desire to turn on false religion. And we can understand that because the context is talking about the destruction of false religion. But you see, if you look back at that verse, what is the one thought? Now,
sorry, he pulled another sneaky on you. He's like, now we know the context is talking about false religion, but no, that's not a thing that people know. That's their made-up thing. You're talking about Babylon the Great. Jehovah's Witnesses assert that means false religion, which means non-Jehovah's Witness religions. But it doesn't just, like, mean that. But he's just quickly like, well, so we know that's true. Sneaky, slimy guy who's deluded himself.
this means we have to adjust our understanding. Another change.
adjust our understanding.
What does it say?
Not change our doctrine, not admit that we were wrong. And it's not even that we're changing our understanding, because that would mean that we believe something that wasn't true. It's just that we're turning the knob direction towards understanding. We thought it was like at a 10 on the understanding level before, but it wasn't. It turns out it was at an 8. So we're just turning it a little closer to that perfect 10 that we're always looking for.
The one thought refers to the nations being willing to hand over power, their political power, to the scarlet-colored wild beast, the United Nations. Let me repeat it, because you're in shock now, and you need to write this down. Okay.
Yeah, making fun of people and being like, yeah, we know we just blew your minds and that this is confusing, but keep up, sheeple.
The one thought refers to the nations being willing to hand over power to the United Nations. Now, why is that exciting? Well, the fact that nations will eventually turn on
doesn't sound
religion
exciting. It
isn't
sounds
that
disturbing.
surprising, is it? Gradually, we've seen that happening. We say, yes, yeah, we see which way it's going. But what about nations empowering the United Nations, handing over their personal political power so the United Nations has more power? It has teeth, as it were. At the moment, it's like a toothless organization, isn't it?
I mean, this is just like quoting stuff that apostates say. Like, that's what ex-members like myself always point to, is the fact that just like their very conception of the UN doesn't really make sense. Like, it's not how the UN works. It's like it's just a council of people like talking. They don't really have that much power specifically, or like, you know what I'm saying. They can't enact global rules. As we know, even certain war crimes aren't necessarily capable of being prosecuted. Like, and he's now acknowledging that, but that kind of undercuts everything they've ever said about the United Nations. And for a group that's often in hot water with the United Nations, I don't know if I'd be saying stuff like this.
That seems unbelievable. No nation does that. But what is it that happens? It is
the thing that we forced you to believe is unbelievable. That seems unbelievable, doesn't it? The thing that you believed until I got on stage.
An act of God. Jehovah puts that one thought into the minds of the nations.
He
yes,
hypnotizes
they will
them.
empower the United Nations so that the United Nations will be in a position to take action against false religion.
Why? Though? Why though? Why? Why would God do that? Why is it good for God to trick people, to put a false thought into their heart or brain or whatever, to force them to try and murder Jehovah's Witnesses? Like, that's what they think the Great Tribulation is that the government entities are going to all globally go against Jehovah's Witnesses specifically, which means that there's going to be, people kicking in witnesses' doors and taking you to prison and who knows, maybe concentration camps. Like, that was kind of the way we thought about it when I was a Jehovah's Witness. And what they're saying is that God is intentionally going to make the people of the world kill his people. Like, but it's just a big trick because he's not really going to let him. So it's all just a big show. Why? Just to, like, jerk off the governing body specifically? Like, why do this? It doesn't make any sense. It just implies that God is really crappy, that he was like, I've got this great plan. The nations are going to come after you. And you're like, whoa, wait, the nations are going to come after me, a Jehovah's Witness? How's that going to happen? God's like, I'm going to make them. What, you're going to make them come after us? I thought you didn't want them to come after us. I thought that you chose us. He's like, yeah, I know. And that's why they're going to try to kill you. Because I'm going to make them try to kill you to show that you're so important. But really, it's my idea. And I'm just making it seem like their idea. But it's just a big trick, you see, so that I can kind of show that Satan's rulership was wrong. Even though it wasn't Satan's rulership that brought this about. It was me. Because I put the thought into their brains. Like, this is so fucking stupid. Do they just not think about this stuff at all for 2 seconds? What is wrong with them? Oh,
now,
I'm
this
getting
adjustment
upset.
in understanding.
Stop being stupid. It's insulting. This is insulting. Smart people have to believe the dumb shit that this guy says. Like, you don't have to be stupid to join a cult. Like, that's not true. I don't think I'm a stupid person. I was in a cult. And it's just, but when you're in a cult, it makes you stupid because you have to believe dumb things. And you see it a lot. Like Christians who really believe in biblical literalism will go, they will start defending slavery. They'll be like, well, the Bible slavery was totally different. It's not a big deal. It was actually loving. It was actually great, and everybody did it. It's fine. Like, this kind of religious shit just makes people lose their morality, their critical thinking. Yeah, this is what my parents said to me too. Jenny Bloom says, as my mom would have said, you're thinking about it too much. Yeah, like, my parents accused me of doing that. They're like, well, you're like analyzing the Bible the way you analyze literature. And I'm like, yeah, of course. I'm applying the critical thinking skills that I apply in every other aspect of my life. And this is worse than fiction because it's supposed to be true. Like, it's just supposed to be true. It's not like, yeah, you can analyze freaking literature for foreshadowing and stuff, but the foreshadowing is constructed in a work of fiction. They're saying that, like, foreshadowing the Bible is like a prophecy. It's real. It really happened. So I just, like, it really upsets me because people do not just believe this crazy stuff of their own accord. They're not coming to these ridiculous conclusions to themselves. This is what they have to believe to stay in the good graces of this crazy man. This man who lies to protect pedophiles because he's too scared that he'll get fired and have to find a real job
Also means
and
that
not
we
be
have
special.
to adjust our understanding of verses 12 and 13.
Ugh,
so if you're
sorry.
in Revelation 17...
I apologize. I apologize for that rant. That was more bitter apostate than I usually like to be on my channel.
Please, let's look at verses 12 and 13. The 10 horns that you saw mean 10 kings who have not yet received the kingdom, but they do receive authority as kings for 1 hour with the wild beast. These have one thought, so they give their power and authority to the wild beast. So up to now, we've assumed these 10 kings, which represent all the political powers and governments in the world at the moment.
Why? Why would God do that, by the way? Why would he write a fucking prank book where he's like, yeah, I know it says 10 kings, but it actually means every religion in the year of our Lord 2024. Why? Why is he being tricky all the time? That's stupid. Why is God writing such dumb books that don't even make sense? Look at this pose. Like gonna beat us up. He actually kind of looks like he got beat up.
World powers, they will see that they need to collectively pool their power by giving it to the United Nations to try and solve some of the problems in the world. And they will...
This doesn't make any sense. This is the really new thing he's saying. It is a fan of JW Esoterica. I thought I was going to fast forward, but I can't.
During the last days, by supporting, first of all, the League of Nations and then the United Nations. But now, what do we understand this to be? Seeing we understand verse 17. Well, there will come a time when all political powers on earth, which includes many who have never been part of the 7 world powers, they will see that they need to collectively pool their power by giving it to the United Nations.
Whoa! Okay. Okay. Every religion on earth, even the little ones, even the little religions that you didn't even think you had to worry about, they're going to do a communism. They're going to pool their resources and become one global religion so that they can, what did he say, just like solve some problems? So every single religion, the Catholics and the Buddhists and all Islamic religions are going to have a real kumbaya moment and shake hands like he showed in that picture earlier and say, all right, here's what we're going to do, all religions. We're going to pool our resources selflessly to solve the world's problems. And we are going to hand that power to the United Nations. How does that work? What happens? Does the Pope just like go up to the fucking like president of the United States. He's like, all right, I'm just going to hand this to you, or Rome. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Like, all right, United Nations, here's our power. Here you go. Now you have it. Now the power we had, you have. Like, doesn't even make sense as an understanding of what power is or how it works. Like, the power that religions have isn't necessarily even monetary. It's cultural. It's the influence that it has on the culture. And that's not like a quantifiable thing that you can like hand a government entity that for them to distribute. This is so... Oh, I'm really getting upset. This is why I've taken a break.
To try and solve some of the problems in the world. And they will rule, notice, what does it say? For 1 hour, just a short period of time.
Just 1 hour.
So this newly...
Which, because it's the Bible, could mean 10,000 years, because any number could mean any other number. 10 can mean every. 10 can mean every religion.
Empowered United Nations, from that time on, will rule collectively for a short time.
Jeffrey Jackson would be so upset. I dropped my Febreze. You know, this is unprecedented. The first Febreze drop in the history of Sunday service. That's why I made that special intro.
But it will enable them to destroy false religion and fight against Jesus and Jehovah's people. Now,
fight against Jesus. That's what they'll do. That's what they depict in the publications, is like the military just like shooting at angels and stuff. It's literally like in Lost when they shoot at the smoke monster and you're like, idiots, you can't shoot smoke. What are you doing? That's what they're portraying in their art, worldly. And now everyone's clapping at what? At what? This tortured hula hoop jumping through maze of a doctrine that he just made? Yeah, hula hoop jumping through maze of a doctrine is a sentence.
But now we're back to our subject again. You see, gradually things happen. So we might say,
Babylon the Great is the world empire of false
Babylon the Great's
religion.
losing influence in some places, maybe not yet. But don't expect that you'll see governments gradually wanting to give over power. They don't want to do that. It takes an act of God. Jehovah will put it in.
Yeah, we know it doesn't make any sense. That's why it's like magic and God has to do it. He has to make this thing that doesn't make sense make sense. We don't know why that's the prophecy he gave us back in the Garden of Eden. But that little poem that Adam said means this, basically, what we're saying. And also Revelation and Daniel and Ezekiel and such.
Into their hearts. This will occur with suddenness. Yes, then the Great Tribulation.
I misheard it. Well, they're saying the same thing, though. Like, it's the same concept. They're saying that, like, all religions come together and they give up their power. Because, like, the world empire of false religion, like the UN bans religions worldwide. So all other religions are gone, leaving only Jehovah's Witnesses, which is the same thing. He's saying that, like, all religions kind of come together and, like, disperse. And that the nations also do this. They become subsumed because they basically... I think that is what he's saying. Okay, we'll go back at the end. I would hate to have to cut that rant earlier.
A sudden
I think it's
truth,
mostly true
not
stuff.
something that happens gradually. So what have we learned in our discussion? Well, yes, some things
Maybe he'll
change
review it.
gradually. But brothers and sisters, remember, there are some sudden things that are about to occur. Let's remember the two things as a reminder. First of
Two
all,
sudden things.
the remaining anointed ones will suddenly be taken to heaven while they are still very active.
Very active. Not like a little bit active. They're going to be so active. They'll be like literally in the middle of a knock on the door, and then they will poof.
The second one, Jehovah will suddenly move the nations to give their political power to the United Nations.
Okay, yeah,
So
you're
what's
right. You're right. You're right. But I also think he was saying that about religions. I think he was also saying that. I'm hanging on to what I said. God damn it. We are going to have to go back and review the tape. We are. But we'll save that.
Take
We'll
away.
save that.
Don't be complacent.
We can't go back. We're not going back. As a wise woman once said, we're not going back. That means we're definitely not rewinding this stream. Because we got a lot of crap to get through.
Think, oh, this is going to gradually change. No, some things won't gradually change. They will occur suddenly as acts of God. So be...
Who is he mad at? Me? For yelling at him? I didn't know he could hear me.
Think, oh, this is going to gradually change. No, some things won't gradually change. They will
Idiots.
occur suddenly
Duh.
as acts of God. So be ready and don't be surprised by sudden change.
What does that look like? What does it look like for like sudden global communism to happen? Because I want it to, you know. I hope that that's what God has planned for the future. Yeah, spicy stream. I don't even know if I believe what I'm saying. No, it's just like I still don't understand the mechanics of what they're describing. Where suddenly the United States is like, you know what, China? What? Why are we always fighting? Why are we playing these little games? We clearly love each other. Let's just pool our wealth. Let's just send it to the United Nations. You know, our new bosses, the United Nations, they'll kind of be like a satanic governing body. That's kind of what they're imagining, I guess. I think from their standpoint, the United Nations is the satanic governing body because it's kind of like little representatives from all over the world. Ooh, Ron Pomo sent you an email link to a YouTube video you might want to check out about who one of the new governing body members is. Ooh, Real Estate Corps hiring real estate guys. Oh, fantastic. Why did I say Corps? Like it was the Colbert Report or the Climate Corps. Yes, thank you, Danny. This is the most, like, really nonsensical part of the JW belief system. In this scenario, this is XJW Caleb, in the scenario, the devil succeeds in achieving global peace only for Jehovah to ruin everything so he can achieve world peace with genocide. Yes, this is the crazy thing about their end-time prediction, is that the devil will succeed in creating world peace. And now we know, which... even though this is exactly what I said like 3 years ago in a video, so they didn't really change much of anything. The only reason why Satan's plan fails is because God cheats and like throws the table up and ruins the checkers board and just puts it into the hearts of all these world leaders to turn against Jehovah's Witnesses. So it's like Satan wins, and then God's like, nuh-uh, you forgot that I have this button that turns, I can do Order 66 on the United Nations. Silly. Yes, by the way. Yeah, I didn't... listen, the rules were that nobody fact-check me. And if anybody is mean to me, I'm just going to go on my phone. Truly the Joker. I wouldn't think that if he didn't do the little purple kerchief.
Thank you, Brother Jeff. You've given us much to think about. We'll probably have to watch that talk a few times to get all the points.
Brother Jeff?
Well, now if you'd like to stand...
Brother Jeff? That's some Mormon shit is what that is. Sorry, the first hour of this stream, I was pretty good with not cursing. And then I got upset. And I didn't mute my mic when I took a drink of water. So unfortunately, I do have to apologize.
My church had been giving me ass to drink. But now... I was freely receiving, come, the water of life.
I didn't actually mean to play the full thing, but you know what? For people who tuned in late, that's a new thing I play when I drink water
Stand
sometimes.
and stretch a bit. We have an opportunity to glorify Jehovah.
Wait, I want to hear him say Brother Jeff.
To think about. We'll probably have to watch that. Thank you, Brother Jeff. You've given us much to think about. We'll probably
Brother
have to
Jeff.
watch that talk a few times to get all the points.
And Elder Gage.
Well, now if you'd like to stand and...
I like this acknowledgement that, like, well, you're going to have to watch that one again. Much like Locke said in Season 2 of Lost's Episode 3 Orientation when they watch the tape of the Swan Hatch, and he says, we're going to have to watch that again. Stay tuned. Who cares what this is? It's just another identical video. I thought how much I would like to return, but I was so deeply entrenched in the world that I felt that I could never get out. Anonymous. I knew that I wanted to come back into Jehovah's love. But how? How, I ask you?
The governing body has prayerfully considered how Jehovah's mercy...
And now they're playing,
could be
like, a greatest hits montage of how loving they are. Ah! You know, I don't know if I can handle this.
reflected when dealing with wrongdoers in the congregation. In his love, Jehovah wants sinners to become reconciled to him.
Jackie,
if at
you
all
nailed
possible.
it.
He doesn't want anyone to be destroyed.
That must be why
so
I
he
like it.
appeals to them to repent.
And we see these pictures.
I like that 70s
illustrations
style.
about, it might be a drawing or something that shows a shepherd going after that one lost sheep. And you think that's really nice. In concept, that's good. But it's not just an academic concept. It's reality.
The fact that...
Aye, puppy. So this is like spin on how loving the elders are. And as we've talked about a lot on the channel recently, a key way that you know that elders are loving is their face. They have a very pained, nodding, infantilizing expression on their face that just tells you that they really got the weight of the world on their shoulders and they're just really thinking about the friends.
He loves people in this way, even those who've been removed
Werner
from the
van Zyl.
just gives me an opportunity to reflect that same love that Jehovah has and extend that to others as well.
The elders in our circuit promptly responded to the adjustments. Once they heard the update, we got the printed...
Circuit work, United States. I wonder if they said that because they didn't want to say circuit overseer and wife, who looks quite literally exactly like a Far Side character.
Direction. The brothers
So does he, by
promptly
the way.
met together.
Oh no! Oh no! What happened? An error occurred. They did not like that I made fun of that hairstyle. This is what we're talking about, people. Watchtower's trying to silence me. Alright. Oh my god, no! Gary Bro? With a Gary goatee? I was not expecting him to somehow look like more of a perv. I didn't think it was possible. Grotee.
The printed direction.
Grotee.
The brothers promptly met together.
Hey, Based.
With the fellow elders, we
Thanks,
all discuss how we can
thanks,
help.
ex-witness Vernon, for becoming a channel member. People should do that. There's some exclusive videos. We do member streams. You get stuff early sometimes.
All these ones in our territory that have been removed from the congregation, and we visited them. They were grateful that they were not forgotten. They are still remembered.
It's heartwarming to hear reports of how Jehovah has blessed congregation elders.
Okay, so low stakes conspiracy time. And I think after so much ranting, it probably would do us some good to go into the conspiracy.
Welcome, Internet. I'm so happy to share with you this conspiracy theory.
So, Gary Bro has very interesting, laugh lines on his face, right? I guess they call them crow's feet. Everybody gets them. But his are permanently, adhered in elder face mode. I think that years of doing elder face, of doing here, so you can just kind of see just doing this. It is truly, if you make a certain face for long enough, it'll stick that way. I think that's sort of the monkey's paw deal that Gary Bro made by becoming the lead pervert in the service committee, which he's also been in for 30 or 40 years at this point. The principal in the Breakfast Club, sort of. If you mess with this bull, you get the horny.
As they search for those who have been removed from the congregation. For example, in the first 4 months after the 2024 governing body update number 2,
big time,
in the South Africa and Philippines branch territories combined,
Africa?
more than one.
Why does he talk kind of weird? I don't have a Gary Bro, but I think if I do it in this register, I'm getting a little closer. Nah, I lost it there at the end.
After the 2024 governing body update number 2, in the South Africa and Philippines branch territories combined, more than 1,200 have come back to the congregation. Here in the United States branch territory, over 5,000 brothers and sisters have been welcomed back. In the Brazil...
Okay, nerds in the XJW community. It would be interesting to tally up how many people, these numbers that he's using, which who knows how accurate they are, but let's take them at face value. 5,000 people in the United States branch territory came back. Add these all up, and how many people in 2024 since this announcement have joined the XJW subreddit. Compare and contrast those numbers, because I'll bet it's at least close. Like, I'll bet it's at least close. That would be interesting. I just am truly useless with math, otherwise I would do it.
Brazil branch territory, some 5,200 publishers have been reinstated. And in the Central America branch territory, over 5,300 individuals have come back to the congregation. The numbers are exciting.
Okay, so notice, one of our favorite words. In some instances, he says, have come back to the congregation. And in some instances, he says, have been reinstated. So, like, 5,000 coming back to the congregation just means, like, that could mean that they're just going to Zoom meetings. You know, that's not like they actually came back all the way, got reinstated.
But we can't overlook that each of
these are inflated
dear
numbers.
ones have returned to Jehovah, and Jehovah loves them.
Yeah, 5,000 does seem low. And also,
one man came to mind because he's
they
deaf
weren't all
and
reinstated.
blind, and he'd been away from Jehovah for 45 years.
Wow.
We prayed with him. We asked him where he was with things, and he said, I want to be back. I want to be back in the family. That's what he said.
This was edited by me.
He's been
I did the
studying
editing on
regularly
this.
and attending the meetings ever since.
You know it's me when they zoom in on the hands.
And he was reinstated about a month later. So when I tactiled that announcement for him that night, I said, you're back in the family. You're a Jehovah's Witness again. And he was just overjoyed at that.
Why? Is it, like, really sad when you're disfellowshipped or something? Is it hard to be a deaf disfellowshipped person? I mean, that's what I'm gathering from this, is that this guy's in the sign language congregation. And so this was somebody who's already, like, in a pretty marginalized community with some challenges, forming interpersonal relationships and struggling to find a community. And for that person to be disfellowshipped, oh, screw these people.
There's a pioneer sister in our circuit that was asked.
Now this man is serving. I mean, look at this. He's making the goatee work. He is doing what Jeffrey Jackson was not even close to being capable of. Whoa, his name's Benoit Jr. That's a cool name.
To conduct a study with a young mom who's trying to make her way back.
She's okay too, I guess, but let me look at his fit.
She was so excited after the first study. She said that first study went so well. It seems like everyone in the congregation is very happy just to have this arrangement in place. A sister told me it made her so happy to see that young mom who's studying smiling again. She hadn't seen it in a long time.
And one experience.
These are not brags. These are not brags. I don't know. So this is something that inevitably they're going to try and submit to evidence, say in Denmark, or like if they end up going through with a similar process that Norway did to defund the group. If you don't know, I think we covered it in a stream a week or two ago, but there's also lots of stuff on the ActJW subreddit, the aforementioned subreddit. There's been a lot of critical reporting in Norway about the group following the decision, or sorry, in Denmark about the group following the decision in Norway to defund them because they were an abusive cult and not deserving of state funds. So not made illegal, but defunded, right? Which is fine because the government subsidies they got went straight up the chain anyway. It never made it to those local congregations. So that might happen in Denmark too. The shunning situation plays a big part in that. So they changed the verbiage. So now instead of calling it disfellowshipping, they just call it removing. Bit of a lateral move in my opinion. And they have made it clear that people don't have to be disfellowshipped for as long a time. Like you could just be disfellowshipped for a couple months now instead of like at least a year, which, as we've seen from leaked videos, was basically the practice for a long time. Like people had to be disfellowshipped for years before they would be allowed back in. So they're changing a lot of this stuff. This is clearly something that they're also using for that propaganda purpose, not just to reassure the membership that these new changes were worthwhile and not arbitrary or insulting, but no, they were in fact very loving. But it's also something that they want to be able to show to courts and stuff, like that shunning document that they created that I talked about a couple years ago. If you go through my channel backlogs, that they prepared, like they had a couple select remarks from disfellowshipped individuals who had been reinstated, literally a couple, saying that, no, it's actually loving, right? And I think they want to try and accumulate stuff like that in video footage like this that reaffirms, like, no, look at how reassuring the faces are. I mean, Gary Bro, his face looks like it's permanently stuck in a condescending, reassuring facial expression. So I think that's why they're doing this more than anything. But I think they're also doing it to piss us off in particular.
Exciting is there's this man who's been removed for over 30 years.
Another rant.
But he started coming to the meetings early this year. But he would sit at the back and not talk to anyone. But eventually, after this arrangement
Based governor
has been made available, when we visited him, he was so excited because he said, I didn't know what to do to come back to the congregation.
Incredible username, by the way.
And here we are visiting him. And he says he felt like a heavy weight has been lifted off his shoulders. And he has been reinstated.
A young man that I studied the Bible with who came into the truth under great.
Because the other way to read this is, wow, disfellowship people were so starved for attention that, like, the very act of literally anyone in the Kingdom Hall saying hi to them for a second is considered this, like, leap forward.
Difficulty. And so we thought of him immediately. And right away, I sent him a message because I still had his phone number.
That's like real Scientology
said,
stuff.
Please watch this governing body update, and I sent him the link. Well, the next day, I received a reply to this message, and there was a photo of a letter that he had written to the congregation body of elders, asking to be reinstated. I wrote back very excitedly and said, have you actually watched the update? And he said, yes, since yesterday I've watched this update 6 times. Well, of course, our hearts were absolutely overflowing, but it was we were even...
That's really not healthy, right? This feels like they're showing their ass, as the kids say, like they're just telling on themselves. Watching that video 6 times, which, sure, go back and watch that video once. See if you can get through it 1 time. Imagine somebody intentionally watching it 6 times.
Happier when about a month later, he was writing us to say, I have finally been reinstated.
The sister that was asked to conduct a study with a person, and she says, it's the greatest gift I've ever gotten is to study with someone who has been removed from the congregation. So her experience...
You could literally see her thinking around saying disfellowshipped. Because the members have to use this new language on the record now.
Experience of crying with her, telling her that she liked her bag, and the student says, I bought this bag years ago so I could go out in service when I got ready. When I was reinstated, showed her that she had been trying for a long time to come back, but just did not.
Look at this. Look at this. Gary Bro eye shape is happening to him.
And so the student now realizes that that was Jehovah that is helping her, and she feels grateful to be helped to come back.
I'm sorry, Ms. Tara.
By sitting in on that Bible study with someone who
gross.
was removed from the congregation and seeing the benefit helped me to see the depth of Jehovah's mercy. Because
this is a guy with a lot of warmth and light in his eyes. Doesn't look like a brainwashed cult member. Looks like totally loving arrangement. Totally loving.
This young man has been removed from the congregation for 9 years. He has wanted to come back, he mentioned, but he just didn't have the strength to make steps to come back.
Her hair
One
is full
person
of
had
secrets.
been removed from the congregation some 17 years ago, and on his own, he was watching JW Broadcasting. He saw the update. He said, "This is it's time to come home."
Wow.
And so he called the
Look forward to the awkward silent supercut. Look forward to that.
Kingdom Hall. He left a voicemail, and the brothers received his message. They reached right out to him. A Bible study was started, And very happily, he too has progressed to being reinstated. And his parents were able to fly in and be there at the Kingdom Hall.
There's no way this is 1.25 speed.
He later
oh my
said
God.
this is truly
That's what's happening.
I feel like it helps us to see another
That was
side of
brutal.
Jehovah as our Father. And you see how much he loves us.
I am such a good friend. Like, this is what they're doing. They're crying at how loving they're being for, like, shunning people a little less than they used to. I can't. Enough out of you. Enough. I really can't deal with that guy's elder face. Alright. Gage Flegel. Blah, blah, blah. Kenneth Cook, I think we can totally skip, right? Just generally in life. We're definitely skipping Caleb and Sophia. It's disgusting. It's the worst. Don't watch it. Watch it on the XJW Caleb channel, because he reacts to the whole convention, or annual meeting, or whatever this is. Let's just jump ahead to our boy. Another big tongue moment from Gage Flegel.
Brothers and sisters, dear brothers and sisters in audio video services, devoted thousands of hours. We wish to express thanks to them. And of course, we express thanks to Jehovah for this touching video.
We express thanks to God. We express thanks to Jehovah. Elderface. I want that to be my lasting contribution to the XJW community. If I can coin some terms, you know, then I'm at least on Lloyd Evans' level with his ghost teachings and whatnot.
Brother Steve, I think part of that applause was for you.
What is this? So Brother Jeff and Brother Steve? Is this a prelude to new light coming? Where they're like, guess what? You're not Brother Kreitz anymore. You're Brother Jake. Like, are they going to do a Mormonism and just get rid of the last name thing? That's really weird. Maybe this is just kind of how they informally talk to each other. They're not like, hey, Jeffy. They're like, hey, Brother Jeff.
The next part of our program relates to the cherished
drink
hope
at
of
my
living
dorm?
forever. And Brother Let has been experiencing a little bit of back pain, but he is improving. So he just wanted us to relate that before his next talk. But he will discuss the theme, everlasting life. Possible? Boring?
How can they give me spiritual grift gifts like this? The way that this guy said boring is like the way he said, let me look at this. It's like how he said praise Jah last year. Like a real creep.
Boring?
What a goober.
Brother Let, you have our attention.
Gage Goober.
The good news that we preach.
Now every time they say the good news, I can only think of the good news guy. The good news guy. So Stephen Lett has back pain. Just a note for this talk, for everyone. I also have back pain, legitimately. I've got a pillow on my back. I have yet to find a good editing chair. I don't know if they exist.
Has many facets, many aspects, like a gorgeous, multifaceted diamond. But now, what is one facet that we especially enjoy teaching people about?
Why couldn't he bring out a cool diamond the way that Brother Lish brought out that mirror and Gage Flegel brought out that complicated puzzle box from his talk?
Fact that faithful humans under kingdom rule will never grow old and die. Unlike Adam and Eve, who threw away the privilege to eat.
This is obviously a tangent, but the recent Spirit Halloween sketch they did on SNL was quite good. They nailed
the tree of life and live forever, faithful humans will be granted life without end.
Mooney is
but now,
objectively
sometimes
correct.
when we discuss this aspect of the good news, people will bring up a couple of questions.
The good
One,
news.
they may say, is everlasting life really possible? It just seems like it's too good to be true. And two,
seems too good to be true. Literally step one of identifying a cult or get-rich-quick scheme. So that's step one, and we've noticed that.
If I actually do live forever, will life not eventually become boring?
I do not think that this is a sincere concern. This really feels like him bringing up kind of a made-up problem to address. But boy, does he address it.
Well, let's discuss those two questions during our talk. Now, first, how can we be sure that everlasting life will become a reality? The first and foremost reason, because the God who cannot lie has promised it. Revelation 21:4, Jehovah.
Totally useless garbage reasoning. Well, we know it's true because it says in the Bible that it is. So weird that you would even question it for even a second.
That will be no more. And then, in effect, he publicly signs that promise.
I cannot get my eyes as wide as his are all the time.
For these words are faithful and true. In other words, write it down where everyone can see what I promised, and I certify.
Now look, wait.
It will happen. I guarantee it will.
Okay. Now notice the lines, the laugh lines. He's got Gary Bro-itis. He's got permanent elder face now. And I think that's why he does his special face movements that we love him for, is because he is really trying to rail against the impending doom upon his face. He's trying to fight against the elder face permanence, but it's going to happen. He can only stop it by bugging his eyes out of his head.
The question, what evidence do we have that humans originally were designed to live forever? Well, think about the first book of the Bible, the introductory book. The first two humans were told if they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and bad, they would certainly die. Now, what is
the thing with Stephen Lett is that he sounds like Goofy. Max?
Implied. If they didn't eat, they were faithful, obedient, they would still be alive. They would never die.
Now, you're going to want to keep your eyes right above the tie line, below the chin. It's kind of mesmerizing in fast motion. This is an incredible screenshot. It looks like an iStock image of a con artist. Like, hey! This is a legitimate business.
How old would Adam be now? A little over 6,000 years old. Eve a little bit younger. How would they look?
Eve a little bit younger.
Just as beautiful,
She's only 5,099.
Perfect as the day they were created. What would be their health condition? They would feel just as healthy and vibrant as the day they were created. Now we know they did sin and they died, as Jehovah said. But his original purpose was for them to live, and that purpose will be fulfilled, as scriptures in the Bible certainly verify.
He'll kidnap 1,000 children before he lets that prophecy fail.
What's another line of reasoning that we were originally designed to live forever? Well, think about the astounding capacity of the human brain. Now, scientists in recent years are finding out more and more that the brain has much more capacity than they previously thought, even just a couple of years ago. Here's what a recent study had to say about this. It said the average adult human brain's memory capacity is estimated to be 2.5 million gigabytes. Now, if you want to...
Okay. What does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with why your religion is true, or the paradise, or whatever he's talking
about? Compare that with a smartphone, the average smartphone, 150 gigabytes. 2.5 million gigabytes, the brain? 150, a smartphone. No comparison. In fact, that study went on to say...
Guys, it's just disgusting, isn't it? The way people in Satan's system of things are constantly comparing brains to smartphones. No, it's not true. Our brains have much more gigabytes.
That the brain would never run out of storage capacity because new memories keep replacing old ones. That happens because new neural connections are formed. So the brain was obviously designed to last forever. Never fill up. Don't give me your name. Don't give me any more information. My brain is full. I can't take it. No, never reach that point, see? brain could always take more. Jehovah made it that way.
Way.
You want to get a little maybe idea about the capacity of the human brain. Think about the tremendous download that Jesus received at his baptism.
What? Like Neo, like downloading Kung Fu? That's kind of what they're describing, is like, I don't know if this is common Christian doctrine or what, but they believe that when Jesus was baptized, he suddenly remembered his pre-existing life in heaven and the fact that he's God's son. So he's describing this as Jesus being given like a download, like when, kind of Samus downloads a new power into her little power suit, I think is what they're kind of implying.
Eons of time, the memory of that all downloaded the human brain that Jesus had, was able to hold that. See, it was a human brain, perfect, but a human brain. The brain obviously is a very...
But guess what happens if you try and say this to Jehovah's Witnesses? They'll be like, that's not the point, it was just an illustration. It's like, well, then why is he saying it? If he's just going to say dumb stuff that's debunked and isn't true and doesn't make any sense, then why do I have to sit here and listen to it? Actually, why am I sitting here and listening to this? Oh yeah, because it's fun.
Very big place.
Can you tell how much fun I'm having?
In a very, very small space, isn't it?
I am. It's the crazy thing.
That certainly is the case. Now, here's our intriguing question.
It's the case.
Why would Jehovah create it?
I mean, the brain is a lot bigger than like a thumb drive or an iPhone. You know what I'm saying? Stephen Lett, even by your standards, it's not like it's that small.
Create us with a super brain, super capacity, if we're only designed to live 70 or 80 years. Wouldn't even make sense, would it? That would be like making a smartphone with 2.5 million gigabyte capacity, knowing that the user would only use a few hundred gigabytes in his whole lifetime. Or
to steal a joke I made in Danny's chat yesterday, it's like he's implying that God did planned obsolescence on humans. He just accidentally is like, well, that wouldn't even make sense if we're only supposed to live 70 or 80 years, but our brains are so powerful. It's like, yeah, because we're not perfect, because we evolved. And we're not flawless beings that were created in a God laboratory and only die because somebody ate the wrong fruit a long time ago.
Like building an automobile with a 1,000,000 horsepower engine.
1,000,000 horsepower!
Would only use a few hundred horsepower during...
I think that his voice and its general Mr. Ed quality has like 5,000 horsepower.
Right. It wouldn't make sense, would it? The brain obviously loudly proclaims that humans were designed to live forever.
Wow.
Now, let's get one more line of reasoning, that we're designed to live forever.
I don't know. I don't know if we need to get that one more line of reasoning. I think, for my own sanity, we're going to have to fast forward to... What is this going to be? More very trendy-looking witnesses.
Make disciples. And we embraced a new approach to our ministry. How's it going for you?
My teeth weren't even...
The following video will share a few experiences related to our new approach to the ministry. Let's watch.
It's not a new approach. It isn't. They did this shit when I was like 15. We're not focusing on placements anymore. We're focusing on starting conversations and reading the Bible. Liars. Just calm down.
Did I enjoy memorizing presentations? No. I think I just got...
So that's the question that they asked, apparently. Did you enjoy memorizing presentations? Even though they've said for years and years and years and decades that you shouldn't memorize conversations and that you should, use it as a springboard to form your own conversation or presentations. Blah! I just am baffled by the fact that they're gaslighting their members this hard.
Used to memorize your presentations. It was something we did since we were kids.
I found that it was kind of...
I enjoy memorizing presentations. No. I think I just got used to memorizing presentations. It was something we did since we were kids.
No, you shouldn't have done that. That meant you weren't following the direction, and you're just falling for this gaslighting. You were never supposed to memorize presentation. I mean, am I insane? Every single theocratic ministry school, or whatever it was called or is called now, like the service meeting part, or living as Christians, I don't know. They would always say, don't just memorize presentations. Like, this is not new. And now they're just convincing people that this is new. It's crazy.
Found that it was kind of hit or miss in the way that people responded. Sometimes they responded well, sometimes they didn't, because maybe that wasn't a subject that interested them.
When I was feeling kind of unsure, like what to do, I'd probably just bail out with, well, I don't want to take too much of your time right now. And it was nice talking with you. And maybe some other time.
Hashtag relatable.
I read and studied the brochure completely. Honestly, I thought that I got this. I didn't.
When we first got this brochure,
Wow.
I was very intimidated because I was so used to the method that we used before.
You were intimidated by this, like, what is essentially an issue of highlights with that little cartoons
at the airport,
in it.
And the guy behind me, he's complaining about the heat in Florida and that the only reason why he was there is because of a funeral. I stopped him and I said, excuse me, I overheard you saying that you were here for a funeral. Who died? And he said, my mother-in-law. Then I remember I have a magazine about comfort for those who grieve. And then I pulled the magazine out and the conversation was done. In my mind, I said, wah, wah. He ain't gonna talk no more. He didn't.
I love our new approach because people can see Jehovah's people as loving.
These glasses are incredible, by the way. Love her look.
Caring
Genuinely.
people, not just preachers.
Because there's no agenda necessarily, you're not trying to
She kind of looks like Cecily Strong, the girl on the left.
leave a specific publication, you feel more relaxed. And oftentimes the conversation is naturally going to go there.
And sometimes it doesn't lead to opening up to a scripture. It's just talking about their crazy situation at work or something else going on in their family. But it's okay because I made a friend.
So this lady, I was about to pay, and she had these
Very colorful
long,
nails.
colorful, decorated nails, and it's like she wanted me to say something
Yeah,
about
she
her
definitely
nails.
wanted to make a statement with them.
So I said, "Girl, your nails look good," and she was like, "Oh well, my nails have a meaning," and I'm like, "They do," and she's like, "Yeah."
Whoa. All right, careful there.
I want to support
Cecily.
Domestic violence
Domestic
abuse.
Violence Awareness Month, and I'm like, "Whoa, you really care about people." Yeah, we went to the website.
Yeah, we showed the website.
And the featured article for that month was literally about domestic abuse, and she got to see some Bible principles, and she took that with her, and we had a
Who could have predicted this? That during National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, the website would have an article about the thing that it is the month of. It can only be Jehovah.
good conversation.
My wife and I were working together in a territory, and we were walking back to our cars. Saw a man across the
We
street.
were
in
walking
the
back
block
to
that
the
was already
cars, weren't we? We were doing a little thing of pudding with the pinky
done.
bongy.
And we asked him how his
Sorry,
week
that's
has
what I
been
think
going.
British people
That
sound
led
like.
to us asking what sort of work he did. From that bit of interest, he really appreciated it. He loved what we had to say. And so he
Really
actually just asked
appreciated
out
it?
of the blue for a study. After we showed him the Enjoy Life Forever brochure, he's attended many meetings and
Brochure.
been a good return visit.
Gave him the
When I
old
entered the
brochure, I
shop,
did.
I started a conversation with the owner. I asked, "How long have you been doing this job?" We talked
This is the first Asian person to like show up on a broadcast in 3 years. This has
about a
been
lot of
a
things.
particularly white
Then, naturally,
annual
she
meeting.
started expressing how she always had questions about life. I then offered a Bible study, and she accepted the offer with interest.
With
From then on,
interest.
we have been studying each week, and about 5 months have
Compounding
passed,
interest.
But we continue to enjoy the discussions.
I was walking through a park one day, and I saw a family.
I think it was the
Had
month
a
of
beautiful
May.
conversation. I asked a few questions, and listening to them, I was really able to hear the concerns of their heart regarding the future for their daughter. I offered a Bible study. She's been studying now every week, and she attended the convention for the first time this year, and she's been attending meetings.
Amazing. Amazing. I can't believe it. Okay, so this is kind of a weird thing. They just play a song? They just play like a full recording of some orchestral piece? Yeah, it sounded like that. You get it. I think I nailed it. I think I got it 100% accurate.
The music for the Good News According to Jesus is very important to the governing body, and so we're happy to share these excerpts with you. You'll be happy to know that the release of the first soundtrack to GNJ will be in the late spring or early summer of 2025.
GNJ?
Well, the time has come for the concluding part
Good
of our
news, Jesus.
program. And it's a special treat.
A treat,
That's all
you
I'm going to say. Brother David Splain will now give the talk, Give Jehovah Glory.
A little nod. Hustle.
And just to be clear, I am not the special treat.
Very good, David. Very funny guy. You know what's really funny is the way that his hair is completely lopsided. Like he doesn't know how to cut it. Double checking, making sure his friends are laughing backstage.
Well, I don't have to tell you that many people today are totally self-absorbed.
Kickable face.
They spend a lot of time on the internet, a lot of time on social media, talking about themselves, talking about their own accomplishments.
Now, okay, if you were reviewing the talks and things you might want to cut out of them, anything come to mind? Maybe the part where he chastises people for basking in their own accomplishments and talking about themselves all the time? Governing body member David Spleen?
They spend a lot of time on the internet, a lot of time.
Who's doing this, by the way?
That many people today are totally self-absorbed. They spend a lot of time on the internet, a lot of time on social media, talking about themselves, talking about their own accomplishments.
Mm-hmm. I know. I mean, I do it too, but I'm not, in charge of anything.
And that's in contrast with Jehovah's people, because
I'm not telling people
Jehovah's
they shouldn't do that.
Are
like this
concerned
guy.
with giving God glory. And this is in line with what we
Giving
read
God
at Psalm 96
glory.
and verse 8. Now, this is the only text we're going to read during this talk. And
Wow.
I'm going to have a look at 3 words in the phrase that we're going to be reading. So please, let's look it up. I'll give you a moment.
Wow,
to
okay,
find
so we're only going to read one scripture, and really only 3 words of that scripture are important, but, we're the godliest, Bibliest organization in the world.
If you're like me, sometimes it takes a little while to find things in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Psalm
He's just
96
relatable. He's just like you.
And verse 8. And it's just the first clause, the first phrase that we're going to look at.
Clause?
It says, give Jehovah the glory.
I know he meant to say clause.
Due his name. Give Jehovah the glory.
Due his name.
Due his name. Now, what were
Due
the
his name.
circumstances during which these words were first spoken? They were first spoken on a very happy occasion, a special spiritual occasion. They were first spoken. They're part of a song. And that song was first composed by David when he was bringing the Ark of the Covenant back to Jerusalem. So you can imagine the joy with which these words were spoken. And finally,
They were so excited to lug that gigantic, cumbersome thing around based on an invisible guy telling him to carry it places.
eventually, that song became part of the theocratic songbook that the Israelites used when they were praising Jehovah. Now we're going to focus on 3 words in this phrase that I just read: glory,
Yeah.
due, and name.
Yeah,
Give
they always say,
Jehovah the
like,
glory
we actually use the Bible
due
in our talks, unlike
his
the
name.
world.
Now, when you think of the word glory, what comes to your mind?
A glory hole.
If you're like me, you probably think of a blinding light, a light that's so intense that you have to shield your eyes. And you might think of the words of the Apostle John when he wrote that God is light.
You might think of the bathroom stalls on the 3rd floor of our Bethel complex.
And so you might ask yourself, how could an imperfect person like me give God glory?
Now we know what you're thinking. You suck. How could you possibly give glory to God? We'll tell you some paltry ways.
Well, it all comes together when we appreciate what the scriptures mean by
Speaking
glory.
of
Now
glory
let's be
holes
real
coming
simple.
together.
Glory in the scriptures means anything that makes someone or something impressive.
Impressive? That's it? I don't know. Give impressive stuff to Jehovah? I don't know if that's
Repeat
right.
that. In the scriptures, glory means anything that makes someone or something impressive. Now, with that simple definition in mind,
make Jehovah look impressive, I guess is what he's saying. All right, listen, folks, I think this is about all I can take of this. I think that's about all I can. We've been here for almost 3 hours. I think he's said everything that's really going to be said. Let's fast forward to the final guy. We can get a little look at another new governing body. This is Jordy? What's his name? Jody? Jorgensen?
Jehovah, our Heavenly Father, and Sovereign of the universe, we come to you with one united voice, grateful for all the things that you've given us in this annual
united voice. Don't we, everyone?
Meeting. You're the one that has given us a measure of glory. You saw us in this world, you drew us out,
measure.
You helped us to learn the truth, and here we are, and we absolutely love you, Jehovah. We do not want to do anything else with our lives.
We love you so
but to
much.
somehow shine the light that you've given to us
just love you.
back on you. Thank you, Jehovah, for this privilege. We thank you for all of the things that we've learned today. We're learning about your mercy, your love for those that have strayed from you, and you see them, and we see them. And we pray, Jehovah, that these ones will come back.
Yeah,
because we know
do.
how much you love and
Disney
wish
villains.
they come back to you. Thank you, Jehovah, for this day.
Okay. Yes. So it's like all prayers. Apparently, governing body prayers are just kind of boring like all other prayers. Okay, holy crap. Well, that, I thought was very boring. I think it, I don't know. I was pretty surprised at how shoddy their reasoning is. Like, I'm just constantly impressed at how much they shoot themselves in the foot with their reasoning. Like, what they did last year was kind of smart in saying, well, we just don't know, we can't be dogmatic. And now, boy, my hair is all weird, sorry. Now it's like, well, we are going to be kind of dogmatic about this, that God is going to put certain ideas into people's heads. They have no say in this. He is going to force the persecution of us, Jehovah's Witnesses. Really weird. Like, it really just seems like, why not take a total step back and reevaluate the doctrine? Well, I think I know why, and I think that's what I'm going to try and talk about in the video that hopefully I will release tomorrow, but it'll be up tomorrow for patrons and members, and then it'll be up Tuesday for everybody else. Yes, we got to talk about million horsepower engines, how amazing mirrors are. I mean, they do reflect things after all. And did you look at one earlier? So you know what mirrors are about. Now, we didn't get any tree updates at all, and I'm glad that you said this, because I was thinking we didn't get any Ramapo updates. Am I wrong? Like, what is going on with that? Somebody on the Reddit pointed out recently, like, there's no updates to that official Ramapo construction website. Like, there haven't been anything, any updates for a year, like at least since 2023. So it felt like they were kind of avoiding a lot of issues. Now that kind of makes sense from the standpoint of, like, the annual meeting is sort of a pep rally. It is like an E3 presentation where their goal is to be like, look at all the amazing things that we're doing and that we did do this year and that we're going to do next year. And the fact that they didn't mention that kind of makes it seem like that's not necessarily on their, like, annual agenda. Like, remember, the annual meeting started as a shareholders meeting, and it's just, you know, now it's branched out and they show it to members eventually. So it's weird that they didn't mention that. You know, they obviously didn't mention anything going on with Norway or or Pennsylvania. Kind of makes sense given the occasion and the fact that they generally never talk about that stuff. So it'll be interesting to see if they do a governing body update about any of that stuff. But before we go, there were a couple comments that I set aside that were good that I wanted to shout out. First of all, a couple of super chats. Thanks, Shield Society, for saying great stream. I'm super bummed out that there was no update on the trees. Thanks, Jake. Keep up the good work. Trees. Thanks. I can't believe they didn't mention trees even one time. It's really unfortunate. Oh my God. Bo is causing a real ruckus. Okay, so this comment I thought was really good. Vaughn Robinson says, I don't care what color the governing body members are, but if you are into diversity, maybe you should not be hoping for people of your particular group to be on the worst board of directors ever. Oh, okay, I see. Well, okay, so what stood out to me is, like, if you care about diversity, which they claim to constantly, like, they're constantly highlighting how global and diverse this organization is, and it really is. Like, it is a very diverse organization, but they don't make any effort to reflect that in the governing body. It feels crazy that they don't, just even from like a tokenization standpoint, be like, well, we should have an Asian American and an African American. We should have, like, they don't bother with that. So they just pick bald, pasty, white American yes men who were already at Bethel, as always. Sparky at one point said, one of my Paradise headcanons was that at some point we'd all be wearing the same thing, like pristine white dresses and shirts. I think that a few years back, when they did that Paradise montage video at the end of the convention, where they like brought back all the characters that they had shown throughout the convention and showed them in Paradise, like the guy's like kid being resurrected and his granddad. I think a weird facet of that was that they were all wearing white. They were like, had long flowing white shirts and pants. Febreze knock number 2. And it does seem like they've moved away from that, and now they always show them just in the business casual clothing. So I don't know what's going on there. There's some kind of internal struggle about what people are going to wear in Paradise, and that's the kind of stuff I care about on this channel. So I'm going to be watching it like a hawk. The governor had asked, do you think this is a precursor to changing the 144,000 dogma? I think yes. Like, it seems like that's a big problem for them generally. It has been the entire time I've been a witness, and it has been for a long time. I mean, the reason why the 2-tiered system of salvation exists is because the Russellites thought that they were going to be the 144,000, obviously. But then at a certain point, the movement surpassed 144,000 members. Oh no, what do we do? Well, then they tried out this thing where it's like, well, some people will be on the earth and some people will be in heaven. Like, they had already taught that, but they had taught that just like non-Bible students would be on the earth. So they've just, the 144,000 thing is like the 1914 thing. It has been a part of the group from the very beginning. And to kind of spoil what I'm thinking of for this video tomorrow, that thing that Jeffrey Jackson said on the Australian Royal Commission of them being the guardians of the doctrine, I think is really important for them understanding, for us understanding how they view their own role in the organization. Like, if they view themselves as guardians of the doctrine, then they view themselves as people who have to keep certain tenets of it to maintain this thing that they inherited by, virtue of being elected to the governing body. So, I think I don't know what to say about it. I'm really interested to see the Blue Envelope channel released a video about changes that he thinks they might make. I had been thinking about making a similar video of just like what will and won't they change. I'm curious to see what he says about that. There are so many different versions of Paradise. I know. Think about it this way. They are future kings and aren't very diverse, but all future serfs, well, sure, they are diverse, as any kingdom would be. Oh, yeah. That's really, man, that's deep. Artsy Kim with a truth bomb. I loved it. All right, folks. Well, this has been super fun, and I'll see you this week with some uploads. Have a good rest of your weekend, and thanks for joining me on this very long stream. Be sure to like and comment, and subscribe to the Sunday Service feed for the backlogs of all the previous live streams we've done. And as always, I don't have an outro for the stream.
Good morning, brothers and sisters.